50-year-old family therapist Eve Beutler for the unpaid balance of the food at her daughter's wedding. Eve says Kenneth omitted certain items from the menu.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 384 on the calendar in the matter of Coley versus Beutler. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Mr. Coley, you are a caterer.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were retained to cater the defendant's daughter's wedding.
Correct.
You did so according to your complaint. The defendant paid you, and part of the payment was put on a credit card, and then she stopped payment on that portion of the credit card.
Correct. Actually, I did 2 events for her.
You did a wedding and a brunch the next morning.
Yes.
The defendant says that she didn't get what she bargained for, and after she stopped payment on the credit card, she did further evaluation of your services and decided that you weren't even worth what she had paid you, so she is counterclaiming in the amount of $1,442. When was this wedding planned?
The wedding was planned July 1st, 2001.
And when were you retained?
Deposit was made January 20th, 2001.
Do you have the initial contract?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? The wedding was to be for 300 people?
Originally, yes, ma'am.
And the total amount?
$12,199.41.
Both for the wedding?
That was for the wedding event. The brunch event was $900.
And how many people were supposed to be at the brunch event?
I believe 60.
You said originally the number of people was 300.
Correct. Ms. Buehler had changed the guest count to 265 approximately 2 weeks before the event.
So far, is that correct?
Yes.
Did anything else happen, sir?
I'll start with June 1st. I made my first visit to the house.
It was to be a home wedding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Surveyed the property, presented some diagrams. We set up a little plan of what we were going to do. About June the 15th, Ms. Buehler called and asked me to come back. She had decided to add canopies to the event. I came up on June 19th. We discussed the canopies, where they should go, and I made a few phone calls, and I ordered the canopies while I was at the house that day. And I do have the rental contract for that.
And were you paid for that?
Yes, I was.
Okay. How much was that?
All total for $1,600.
Okay. Go ahead.
Part of my services was that I was going to stir-fry the vegetables next to the buffet. By putting up the canopy, I felt that we weren't able to do it. Legally, you cannot have a fire underneath the canopy, and also it makes for a bad situation when you have the walk underneath the canopies.
And you had discussed that with her?
Yes, I did.
What else?
July 1st, everything went okay. There was more than my count. There was more than 300 people there. I had ordered tables and chairs for 300 people.
Why did you order tables and chairs for 300 if she gave you a count of 265?
You always have to have a few extra tables or chairs and plates.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'd like to present my pictures too, if I can.
I'd like to see it, please.
During the time that we set up the party, the night of the party, everything went off well. We ran out of plates. We had to wash plates during the event. By my account, all the seats were filled. We were bringing out extra chairs. There was more than 300 people there. The next day, we did the brunch. That went okay. I had the canopies removed. I had all the property cleaned up. That afternoon, I settled on the bill. The client paid in full for the brunch. There was no problem. For the dinner event, Ms. Buehler's husband, Earl, had asked for some kind of compensation. He felt he should have had leftover foods after the wedding event. There really wasn't much in the way of leftover foods because I pointed out to him that he had too many people. We had more people than what we had planned for. But anyway, everyone ate. It was an all-you-can-eat meal. The client was very happy. He complimented on how successful we were.
And then they stopped payment on the credit card.
He wanted to give me a $10,000 credit card. It was my understanding they were going to give me a $10,000 check. I agreed to accept a $5,000 check and a $5,000 credit card payment. At that time, I called my office. I had my accounting person run the credit card while we were sitting in his office. We shook hands. Everything was fine. We left. 2 or 3 days later, I got a call from him that he wanted a refund on part of the money because the vegetables weren't prepared correctly, and that over the issue over the dessert station. Within a couple of days, he had called the credit card company and stopped payment in the amount of $1,080. And that's what he said the value of the vegetables and the dessert portion was.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
First of all, I'd like to say we paid Mr. Coley everything except for the items that he omitted from our original contract. On our original contract, and the reason why I booked him is because his claim to fame is this great Chinese wok where they flash grill the vegetables with hot pasta. Also, he made me a delicious chocolate brownie because that's part of his dessert station, which is also on our contract. And also on the original contract, you'll see that the canopy and the wok are on the same contract. The canopies he's speaking of have nothing to do with the food, and I have a picture of plenty of areas where we could have put the wok. If I would never have eliminated the wok no matter what. So the whole argument is, number one, he breached the contract. I would have never hired him if I thought that he was going to omit the wok and omit the dessert station for which he charged us.
Just a second. He omitted an entire dessert station?
Yes, nothing, not a cookie. I had my whole in-laws there.
There were no desserts?
Nothing.
Were there any desserts, sir?
We had the wedding cake.
Just the wedding cake?
The wedding cake.
What about desserts?
A little background on the event.
No, just tell me. Was there a dessert station for which you originally charged for 300 people $900? Was that for the wedding cake?
The client paid the amount of $700 for the wedding cake for 300 people. She asked for a reduction in the bill, and I reduced the bill by 10%. Our agreement is if I reduce the bill by 10%, which was $3 a person, that we would omit the dessert station. By reducing the bill down to all-inclusive $26, that's food, labor, beverage.
$26 a person?
Correct. Originally, all of that was supposed to be $31.50. Basically, she said she couldn't afford the event. Same with the canopy, she couldn't afford it.
Kenneth Coley says customer Eve Beutler refuses to pay the balance for his catering services. Eve says Kenneth ran out of food and omitted items from the menu.
Did you discuss with her omitting the dessert station?
Yes, I did, very clearly. I even have it in some documents.
Can I see it?
This is the bill right here that says all-inclusive.
The dessert station was optional.
Correct.
I have the statement here, and it's 2618. The dessert station was never optional.
Well, let me see what you have.
I have the same, right here, it's 2618, and it includes the dessert station.
Let me see.
It says right there on it.
Let me see.
It was not optional. It was part of the bill.
No, that's not true. It says dessert station, $3 optional.
Well, we paid for the, do you have the invoice? This is my husband, Earl. He did the financial dealings.
Yeah.
And my daughter, Davia, whom he also promised the dessert station to, and the wok. Those were
Don't tell me about the wok. Listen to me.
Okay, so
you made a wedding. I want to tell you something. You made a wedding for $26.50 per person. You can't get it cheaper anywhere.
Hey.
I don't know where you found this guy, but you ought to clone him. Right?
Your Honor?
And
Sorry.
I'm talking. How many weddings did you make?
Just one.
I have a lot more experience. Now, how many people did you have at your wedding?
269, and I have the wedding list here. He set up the tables. He set up 26 tables and the table for the bridal party. There were no more seats for a maximum of 275, and 3 of those tables were set up for wheelchairs. So his statement of over 300 is absurd. We would have had people standing there eating out of their hands.
What caterers usually do is they put out number of plates that they have. Plates. Sometimes when people are having a buffet, they say, well, we can always add a couple of people. 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 people, and there'll be plenty of food. You spend $12,000 for just this part of a wedding. And to be quite honest with you, I don't understand why you would do anything after a wedding to make it unpleasant.
Because we didn't get what we ordered. I would have never gone with him.
So what? You had to walk
Because
out
it was
a nice
important
wedding.
for
I'm
my
looking
daughter.
at pictures. I'm looking at pictures. Stop. If your daughter is worried about a wok, and
And
that's
the
what she's
desserts.
and that's what she's worried about at this stage of her life. Wait until she has some real aggravation or tsuris. You know what that means?
Exactly what service means, Your Honor.
She's worried about not having an open flame wok at her wedding. If that's what gets her.
Your Honor, we didn't bring this. I know you're aware of this, but we didn't bring this suit to Mr. Coley. I mean,
He brought a lawsuit because you paid him and you stopped payment on his bill.
But
Your Honor,
What did you expect him to do, roll over?
I contacted him twice. I have the emails. He never responded to my emails. He's saying that, yeah, I called him is not true. I emailed him twice. He never responded. I finally, in desperation,
I would like
contacted
to
the
see
credit
your
card company.
email.
He gave me 5 days on a holiday weekend before he stopped
I'd like
payment.
to see you. I'd like
And
to see
further, Your Honor,
Read
when
the
he...
last line in his email. He says, congratulations, you were very successful. And just please read that last line.
The wedding was very nice. I sent him these emails. When he responded finally, after the credit card company withheld the money, he said, "This is the first I've heard of this," which I have also his notes on that.
Just a second. You have any other children for whom you're going to do a wedding?
I hope not. We have 2 other children. Hopefully we won't be doing weddings for the
have
boys.
I just don't understand. So it doesn't matter if you choose a certain buffet and you don't get it, it doesn't matter because it's a nice wedding?
Bottom line?
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Bottom line, what I'm telling you is, when you plan a wedding that has a lot of different courses, a lot of different foods involved, something is going to be not perfect. But if overall the caterer has done a nice job, and everybody seemed to have a nice time, and the event was uplifting and fun, and everybody enjoyed themselves, and the bride and groom are happy, then you don't do anything to diminish that by being picky. You may not refer him to somebody else again, although the end of your email says, "Thanks once again for catering what was overall a very successful wedding." And if it was a very successful wedding, then you don't pick apart the fact that you didn't have, that your vegetables were cooked before they got to the big buffet, if that's what it was. Because it's not a big deal. I'm going to tell you right now, nobody who's planned a wedding says that $3 is going to include an elegant, all-inclusive dessert buffet as well as a wedding cake. I know, I think the last time I paid for wedding cake, it was $5 a person just for the cake.
I was promised what's on the contract. Many times you tried to substitute the vegetable thing, which is, you say it's not a big deal.
Stop with the wok. I don't want to hear the wok anymore.
I'm saying is,
I'm not interested in the wok. Lighten up.
Well,
Are you serious about your counterclaim?
No,
just a second. I'm getting to the counterclaim.
Yes.
Are you serious about your counterclaim?
Yes,
Let's
Your
hear it. You've got more money that you think you should give back to you. Let me hear.
Okay, part of the counterclaim, Your Honor, is based on the fact that he ran out of food at the brunch. He ran out of, it was lox and bagels, an omelet station, juices, coffee rolls. He ran out of lox and eggs within about the first 10 or 12 guests. So that we were running in the house, bringing out egg beaters, trying to find juice in our freezer, looking for additional food, which we had hoped to have from the leftovers, which he had taken with him. That was part of the counterclaim. I asked for 80% of the brunch fee back.
Well, how many people was the contract for the brunch?
We guaranteed for 60, as the plaintiff claims.
Yes.
I would say about 40 actually showed.
Did you run out of food? You there?
No. The only thing that we didn't have, one person was asking, or actually 2 people were asking for omelets with whites only. I did not bring any whole eggs. I can tell you, the way that they've done business here, if I would have ran out of food, at any time, they would have taken every dollar of value for it. And plus, on top of this, I have her email telling me that she's given me 8 referrals for doing such a good job. So I can tell you that they're making this up. Did you not say that?
Mr.
I
Coley,
told you, Mr. Coley.
You took back the
Coley,
I told
did
you
have
before the
email?
wedding I would
Yes,
have
I
8
do.
families that are interested in you.
Can
So
I
I didn't
see-
push anything because I wanted, I just figured you lost business.
Can I just see the email?
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why I don't buy your statement that nobody got fed at your brunch.
No, we
I
just said
didn't
they
say
ran out of
nobody
eggs.
got, they ran out of eggs and they ran out of lox.
That's
Well,
not true.
Just a
And
sec.
juice.
That's
Just a
not
second.
true.
What else? What other food did he have at your brunch?
There were some pastries, some bagels,
Yes.
I think some fruit.
It's the bottom of this page.
What's the date on that?
November
Right?
4th.
Just pay
Right,
attention.
that was before the wedding.
Oh, listen to me. Could you talk?
2 weeks ago.
Could you talk to me? Talk to me.
That email was 2 weeks ago. Or maybe a month
That's
ago.
last year.
Doesn't say that after the wedding she referred clients to you. She said that she's unhappy with the way this thing was resolved. But let me tell you why I don't buy your counterclaim. I don't buy your counterclaim because you put a stop payment on the credit card amount after the brunch. And you made a very specific amount. And the very specific amount that your wife told me about was that you didn't get the open flame wok and you didn't get the brownies that she wanted. And that, you said, was $1,980.69. But you had already had the brunch. So if you felt that he hadn't provided the service for the brunch, you would have deducted that amount as well from the credit card.
May I answer that?
Now, I'm finished. Let me finish. Now you want an additional amount of $1,442 because in reflection, you think that he should reimburse that amount to. Now I'll hear you.
Okay, Your Honor. I spoke to Mr. Coley immediately after the brunch. I told him I was upset with them running out of food and that I was upset that he had taken away the leftovers. I did not yet know about the other 2 items. He also said that we had gone over our guarantee.
I believe that that's probably true because, as I said to you, and done buffet kind of weddings and done hors d'oeuvre kind of weddings, and very, very often you say to yourself, you don't need a whole lot of leftover food. She has a few friends coming in that she didn't anticipate. He has a few friends that are coming in that didn't anticipate. Aunt Hattie is coming in. She wants to bring a friend with her. You got another 5 people. You got another 10 people. It doesn't have to cost me another $26 a person. We'll have enough food. I've been around the block enough to know that that's true.
Your Honor, I have the exact wedding count. Also, if you look at the invoice, there's 26 tables of 10, which would seat 260.
Yes.
There was a head table of 16, which would be 276 was the most they were seating for. Is he suggesting then that 25 people were standing?
Just a second. 276 is not 265.
We may have had 270.
Just a second. 276 is not 265.
I agree, Your Honor. And when I spoke to him after the brunch...
people is 11 people times 2650.
I have the exact count, but when I spoke to him...
You got my drift? Answer my question, sir. If you have an answer about your reflection days later, after you had already canceled part of your credit card charge, why you now think he should give you more money.
I spoke to him about the running out of food at the brunch and the leftovers immediately following. He countered with the fact that we had gone over our guarantee. I had not done the count yet, so I agreed we probably had. And we called it a wash at that point. It was not till later that I discovered the wok and the desserts had not been served. I contacted him twice. He never responded.
Just one second. No. You don't try to confuse me. I'm a little bit smarter than you are. Probably a lot. The original complaint that your wife was complaining about was the wok and the dessert tray,
Correct.
not the fact that there were not enough leftovers and that you ran out of eggs. That was what she originally said she was complaining about. The lack of the wok and those wonderful brownies.
Desserts for my in-laws.
I didn't know about those at the point I spoke to
Well,
Mr.
then you
Coley.
better communicate better with your wife. Your counterclaim is dismissed. Your claim is granted, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,980.69. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It wasn't devastating, but it was disappointing that things turned out the way they did.
In my experience, weddings are very emotional, and people get tied up in the emotions.
40-year-old hair replacement company owner, Rima Sapien, is suing customer, 40-year-old internet service provider Sue Green for the unpaid balance on wigs for her 17-year-old son, Augie. Sue has a countersuit for the money she's already paid.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 396 on the calendar in the matter of Sapien versus Green. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Miss Sapien, you are in the wig business.
Yes, I am.
The defendant signed a contract with you for 3 wigs for her son, who has a medical condition which creates a baldness. They signed the contract for 3 wigs. You furnished 1. They were dissatisfied with the one you furnished. You are suing them for the remaining 2 pursuant to the contract.
No, they weren't dissatisfied.
Just a second.
Sorry.
They say they were dissatisfied. They canceled the other 2 wigs. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
You want the money for the other 2 wigs.
Yes.
Counterclaim requests the money that you paid for the 1 wig that you did in fact receive, which you said was not as promised. Can I see a copy of the contract that they signed?
Your Honor, can I just mention something?
Not until I read. So you ordered all 3 wigs at the time?
No, I didn't.
You ordered 1?
Yes, that's right.
And when did you deliver that 1?
The first one I delivered, I ordered on July, exactly July 12th, and I delivered the first one on August 16th.
Okay. Do you have that one here?
No,
That wig?
he used it.
Where is that one?
I have it, Your Honor.
Can I see it?
Yes.
Would you show it to the plaintiff and ask if that's the wig she delivered?
No, with the base. Yes, it is.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Can I see it, please?
Originally, it comes like this.
I'd like to see how you say it comes original.
This is the second one that I ordered and they didn't pick it up.
Okay, let me see it, please.
That's the original. It comes in a long version, 5 inches, and then they choose a style.
Now, I see you're wearing blonde. Why wasn't this?
That's the color that her mother requested as the sample, because when I take an order, I write all the specification of the customer is, because it's custom made, she can order it any way she wants. She told me that Augie's hair was in her color, her own color. So she requested me to take her own sample of color and order it the way that she wanted it. So
Just
that's
a minute,
what I
but
did.
that's her color. This isn't her color.
But she gave me that picture. She colored it or whatever she did, but that's the sample.
And I'm just surprised because clearly this young man has blue eyes, he has light skin, and he should have the same color, and his mother's hair is much lighter than these wigs.
That was the color that I took it from her. She told me that that's my color. I cut my hair and this is my color.
Oh. You delivered this wig. How much after you delivered that wig
That
did
wig-
the defense? Shh, listen to my question.
Okay.
Did the defendant tell you that she was dissatisfied with the wig?
No.
How much? Well, eventually she told you she was dissatisfied because she
No.
canceled the order.
No, she didn't.
Okay.
Because what happens is the contract, I made it in a monthly basis.
Just tell me what happened in this case. Now,
What
you delivered this wig.
Yes.
You put it on her son, and they left.
Yes, on August.
August 16th.
Past September, October, they just continue coming to my establishment, purchasing supplies that they need to use to keep it. They were insisting that they want to take care of it themselves at home, so I trained them, came to my business, I trained them how to do it. They purchase supplies, take it home, and take care of it.
Okay.
So every time I saw him, everything is great. The pictures of the summer school is great. Girlfriend loves it. Friends are accepting. He looks great. That's what I got. On October 1st, she called me. She says, did you receive the check? I said, yes, I did. She says, I just want you to order it, the second one, because we don't want to rush it like the first one we did. I wanted to have it ready. I said, okay, I order it. Are you sure everything is the same? Everything the same. I specifically asked, the color is the same? She said, yes. I said, measurement is good. She said, yes. I said, okay, then I order it.
This was on October 1st.
That's right.
Okay, go ahead.
So I ordered the October 1st one. The order went out, I have here. Then I called on 2nd or 3rd of November because I didn't receive her payment. So I called in, I said, Mrs. Green, I didn't receive your check. She said, oh, you're not going to receive it because I don't want it anymore. I said, what do you mean? You called me in October and asked me to order a custom-made piece. She said, well, we find somewhere that is cheaper, and yours is very expensive, so we don't want it. I said, I'm sorry, but you cannot cancel a contract just because you find a cheaper place. She says, no, we find a cheaper place. You can return it. That's a lie. You're a liar. You're a cheater. You can return it anytime you want. I said, I cannot. This is a custom-made. This is a factory.
Okay, and that's where it stopped.
That after a conversation that I'm going to put a lawsuit against them, they start to coming up with they're not satisfied. That's a
Okay,
junk.
well, let me hear from Ms. Green now.
Sure.
Okay. Did you or did you not have a conversation with the plaintiff on or about October 1st?
Yes, it was like...
Just a second. I'm asking the questions.
I'm sorry.
And during the course of that conversation, did you, in fact, instruct her to order a second wig?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe...
Stop there. Stop. Just stop. Now, between October 1st and November 3rd, when she contacted you, what caused you to tell her that you were not going to pay her pursuant to the contract?
The receipt of a true custom wig, a wig that came the correct color, the correct texture, the correct fit, a ventilated cap, and sideburns, which become a male. Her wig, there's nothing custom about it. As
Ms. Green, it's become a much easier case than I originally anticipated.
Sapien says customer Sue Green ordered wigs for her 17-year-old son and has never paid.
Something happened after October 1st. You went comparative shopping, and you saw a wig that you liked better, right?
No.
Well, it had to happen after October 1st, madam.
It did, but those were not the circumstances in which it transpired. Because on August 16th, yes, we did receive the wig. As a matter of fact, I have a picture to show you, Your Honor, of how my son looked when he came home.
More than happy to take a look at it.
When he
minute.
had the wig cut and he was in the salon, I was stunned. My son had hair for the first time in 3 years. But when we came home, And I really looked at him, and my husband looked at him. We went through the roof. His hair
Miss
looked
Green,
ridiculous.
Miss Green.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's not waste each other's time.
All right.
If after a couple of weeks, after a couple of hours, after a couple of days, you decided that you didn't like the product and that the product was not as was promised, then you have a different scenario. In this case, you had this wig until October 1st. I assume your son wore the wig. I have to assume that
Yes.
he wore it up until October 1st because you, in fact, contacted the plaintiff and instructed her, pursuant to the contract, to order a second one.
Because I thought she was an expert,
Just
Your
a
Honor.
second. That's your problem.
No, it's not. It's
No,
under the state of California.
no, it is your problem, Miss Green.
No, ma'am, because I do have evidence that she defrauded me, and she represented herself as a company that does not exist anymore. I have evidence that the contract I signed is with a company that no longer is allowed to do business in the state of California.
I'll see it. That you didn't know on October 1st.
No, I found that out.
That you didn't know on October 1st.
Because,
Let me
ma'am,
see.
I relied on her expertise. I'd never handled a hairpiece before.
Just a minute.
I thought what she was telling me was the truth. I thought her expert opinion about the fact that the sweat was collecting under the wig. This wig was designed to be worn 30 days at a time.
Just a minute. HRC International, Inc. Is that your company?
I'm one of the franchises.
Their corporate powers, rights, and privileges had been suspended.
No, that was for the Wilshire office. I am a Glendale HRC, each location. Torrance HRC, Newport Beach HRC, Glendale HRC. Originally, is that it doesn't have nothing to do with me. It's a different HRC, another location of HRC, let's say. That's the Wilshire office. If you can make a phone call, you're going to see that it's closed.
Right. This talks about the Wilshire Center.
Yes.
But, Your Honor, I had no idea that any of it was out of business. Her business card, the brochure.
Miss Green, that had absolutely nothing to do with your judgment. I have to tell you, Miss Sapien, I don't know what they did as far as grooming or as far as color or as far, I don't know whether before they brought this piece to me, they put it in bleach. That's a whole possibility.
Yes.
All right? But this piece, the quality of this is certainly different from this piece.
Yes.
The color is certainly different. However, the defendant called and ordered a second hairpiece on October the 1st.
Yes, Your Honor.
And based upon her telephone call, because you had not ordered another hairpiece, up until that time, don't go like this. Up until that time, if she had not called, you would not have been out any more money than the one hairpiece that she may or may not have fully paid for. I don't know whether she did or not under the contract.
Exactly.
But then she went and called, and pursuant to your direction, she ordered another one. So, Miss Green,
yes,
you are going to pay for two, not three, two hairpieces because that's what you ordered.
But, Your Honor, that contract is invalid. Hair Replacement Centers Incorporated is not in business.
I thought... Just a second. That's not true.
Yes, it is true.
No,
Hair
Miss
Replacement
Sapien,
Centers.
listen to me very carefully. That is not, as far as I know, true.
I offered you the papers, Your Honor.
I read the papers, and I'm telling you that her franchise is not
What franchise?
Pay careful attention to me, madam.
I have nothing about her
Pay
franchise.
careful attention to me, madam.
But
pay attention! It may very well be, Miss Green, that her place is not licensed anymore. These papers do not establish it.
But those papers show that the contract I signed, if you notice the name on item number 1 of the contract, is not her name. It's the gentleman who represents Hair Replacement Centers.
Listen to me.
Original institution.
It has absolutely nothing to do with this guy. I want you to forget that. That's legalistic mumbo-jumbo. Listen to me carefully, Miss Green, so that you fully understand each other. Acting on your words and under the terms of your agreement, she did, in fact, order that product from her supplier to her detriment, and you are going to pay for them. She is not, however, going to pay for the third one because she is dissatisfied, she says, now with this product. You have not suffered any financial damage because you haven't ordered the third wig from your supplier.
Not yet.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, how much was the first wig?
Each piece came up to $866.66.
They were the same price?
Yes, all of them are the same price.
$866.
Yes.
And how much did she pay?
She paid $1,076.99.
Your Honor, I thought she was an expert. It did not come to light that she was deceiving me.
You owe her
until much later.
$655, Miss Green. Pay her. Your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are
Thank you, Your
excused.
Honor.
You may step out.
Her first reaction was that she wanted to jam me for money.
I didn't knew her displeased until I got harassment letters from him towards me that he's going to do this and that to me because I'm going after the money.
I couldn't even do any minor sport activities because the sweat would build up in my wig and it'd just be so uncomfortable. It'd be terrible.
If they would call me and say I'm not satisfied, I will try to do my best to satisfy.
Jennifer Cronin is suing 30-year-old homemaker Kristen Cummerell for the money she paid to enter a road rally. Jennifer says she was given an incorrect start time and missed the event.
You're going to explain a lot of things to me, but what I get from your papers is that you saw an event advertised, some sort of an event with cars, and you decided that you wanted to become involved in this event. There was a registration fee of $160.
It's $120.
You saw a flyer for
For
it.
6 people, it's $20 per
You're going to
person.
explain to me how this all worked. It was $120. Defendant was running the thing, which you're going to explain to me. You sent in your money based upon what you saw on the flyer. Somebody told you what time the event started because that wasn't on the flyer that you had. As it turns out, the event started earlier. You got there and the game was over. You want your money back. The defendant says it's not her fault that you didn't see the right time and they spent your money. Okay, so now explain to me what this thing was.
It's a road rally. It's
What's a road rally?
basically a scavenger hunt on wheels. You go from destination to destination retrieving clues to tell you which destination you need to go to next. And at the end, there's like a final meeting place where everybody has dinner. In this case, it looked like it was like a party with beer and wine and food. And then there's prizes designated to those who get to the final destination first.
Oh, that sounds like a fun event.
Yeah, it is.
Have you ever done it before?
Yeah.
And it's fun.
Oh, a lot of fun.
And you were running this.
Yes.
How did you see the event advertised, Miss Cronin?
I got a flyer.
Can I see it, please?
Yeah. From Lawrence. He is one of the persons that's listed on the flyer for questions and comments in coordinating it.
Good. And how did you get this flyer?
He handed it out to us at work. He's a coworker.
Show this to the defendant, please. Okay, so who did you contact to find out what time this thing started?
Lawrence, I asked him in person at work.
And as a result of your conversation with him, what time did you arrive at the event?
7:00 p.m.
And when you got there, was anybody there?
Nobody was there.
Who did you send your money to?
Kristen Cummerell, the defendant.
And you received her money, $120.
Yes, I did.
And what time had the event started?
At 5:30.
She wants her money back. Why shouldn't she get it back?
I don't feel that she should get it back because when she asked Mr. what time the road rally started, he stated that he wasn't sure, that he thought it started around 7 o'clock.
How do you know that?
Because I have spoken to
That's
him.
hearsay.
And that's okay.
That's hearsay.
If-
Why would she pay her money, $120, and then arrive after the event was over?
She also received a copy of the flyer that was not for distribution. It was for Larry and his wife to review before we had the copies made and had the flyers distributed.
Where does it say that on here?
It doesn't. This was the first time that we put on a road rally. I gave it to them because they're friends and said, review this, make sure we aren't missing any information, get back with me, we'll finalize it, get it printed, and then distribute it.
You told that to them?
Yes.
But they printed it and
Yes.
distributed it.
And we told them, when I handed them final copies of the flyer, which I do have the finalized copy that does have the time on it, that if you gave this flyer, the old flyer, to anybody, you need to give them a new copy or tell them that we are starting at 5:30. That was a conversation that took place in my home with my sister
Well, that's
as a
also
witness.
hearsay. Let's assume that you had that conversation with Larry. Ms. Cronin, did you ever speak to Larry again about the time?
I spoke to him once about the time, and my witness also spoke to him about the time, the day before the road rally.
Did you ever receive a follow-up flyer from Larry?
No, we did not.
So she gets her money back.
The money is not there. The money was spent towards putting on the road rally. I have all the receipts of exactly where the money went.
I don't care where the money went. You have to give her money back. You put on the event.
I was part of putting on the event, and the reason
She sent you her money.
Yes, but I'm not the one.
You deposited the money, I assume.
Yes.
You have to give her her money back.
I was not the one who gave her the wrong time, and if somebody that I asked wasn't sure about the starting time, I would have called the other 2 names on the flyer to verify that starting time.
Listen to me. The fact that one of your co-organizers made a mistake and passed out this flyer and gave out wrong information cannot be attributed to her. It has to be attributed to the person who took her money. You have to give her her money back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $120. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just because I was the one responsible for the money doesn't mean I should pay for somebody else's mistakes.
I told her I would be talking to her in a future date, and that was going to be in court.
Out of 172 or 108 people, everybody else showed up except for this one team.
21-year-old student Kimberly Gray is suing her niece, 21-year-old office manager Vivica Lewis, for having her falsely arrested for stalking. Vivica says Kimberly threatened to kill her.
Order. All rise. Yes, case number 352 on the calendar in the matter of Gray versus Lewis. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
All right, this is like a little soap opera here. I really think I'm going to start with you, Miss Lewis, and get some background information. The lawsuit involves your claim, Miss Gray, that the defendant, who is your husband's niece, had you falsely arrested for stalking. You want to be compensated for that false arrest and for all the money that you spent, lawyer's fees, time, and emotional distress. From what I gather, and I'm trying to piece together the information that you put in your complaint, you saw the plaintiff getting into another man's car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you see this?
In a county near my grandmother's house at a gas station.
Tell me what you either saw or thought you saw.
Okay, we were the last ones at the gas station, and it's like a rural gas station in a little county, and we were pumping gas. The lights were out because we were the last ones there. They were closing up. We saw the defendant coming.
No, plaintiff. She's the plaintiff today.
I'm sorry. The plaintiff riding in her car. And she didn't see us at first. We were just standing there pumping gas. And when she saw us, she like backed out. And when she was about to leave the parking lot, a car rolled up with a male in it. And they exchanged a few words. And they left together, following each other. So we were en route to our house.
Who were you traveling with?
My mother, my sister, and my little brother. And we saw her pass in the other direction. She was in the passenger side of the guy's car. So my mom got upset, and she turned the car around and went back to my grandmother's house where my uncle was.
Your uncle, who was her husband?
Yes, ma'am. And my mom...
Were they living together at the time? Everything was happy?
No.
So they were separated?
No, not legally. She comes and goes when she wants to.
But they were not living together full-time as man and wife?
No.
Okay. So you and your mom go back to your grandmother's house where your uncle is.
Yes.
Her husband.
Yes.
Estranged husband. And you tell him what you saw.
Well, my mother got out the car and told what she saw.
And then what happened?
He came out because he had the baby, because she said she was too ill to watch the baby and take care of the baby. And he left the baby with my grandmother, got in his car, and sped down the road.
And then what happened?
And he called us later that night and told us what had happened when he saw her getting out of the guy's car. And
what happened when he saw you?
First, he accused me of cheating. He shoved me going towards the friend that I was with. Then he approached him and started calling me all sorts of names, and he was about to fight him, so I had to stand in front of him so he wouldn't hit my friend.
When were you arrested?
They sent me in a mail a paper saying if I do not turn myself in, that they will arrest me, come and arrest me at my home.
What do you claim she did to you that caused you to file the police report?
Okay, after she had a confrontation with my uncle called me and told me what happened. The next morning, Miss Gray called me at my home. I didn't tell my uncle anything my mom told her. I didn't even speak to my uncle when he called that night. So she called me the next day. We had been friends. I was the only one in my family willing to accept her and her child into my family. Everyone else didn't want to accept her. So I wasn't mad that she was cheating on my uncle because I really don't get in their business. She called me, she threatened me, she said that she was going to kill me, my daughter, and the rest of my family because we're a bunch of bees and everything. And I was like, Joy, you're crazy. Stop calling my house. I hung up with her. She called back and proceeded to curse me out. And I'm like, you know what? You're making threats, and I'm tired of you making threats. So I was like, you better be careful what you say. And she was like, I'm going to kill you, and she hung up the phone. I called my uncle right then immediately because she has a medical condition that affects her hormones, and they say that it affects her mind sometimes when she doesn't take her medicine. So I called my uncle to make him aware of what his wife was doing, and he said, don't worry about her. I'll take care of her because she needs her medicine. And I'm like, okay. I didn't pay her any mind. So the next morning, after she made the phone call, I come out my door into my parking lot, and I put my daughter in my car. She's across the parking lot in her car, waiting in her car, looking at me. And I knew it was her because she has personalized license plates. So I just got in my car, and I proceeded out my parking lot. She followed me 10 miles up the road to my mom's house, and she proceeded down the road as I turned into my mom's driveway. And I went in the house and told my mom about the situation, and she said, don't worry about it, just go to work. Later that night, I hear a loud bang on my door. I live by myself with my daughter. And I get up, my daughter's crying because she woke up because of the noise. And I get up, look out my window, and I don't see anything. I open my door, and then I see her across the parking lot with her lights on, and then she speeds out the parking lot. So that night, in fear of not knowing what she's going to do because she has to take medicine because she has a chemical imbalance with her hormones and everything. And so I left and went down to the magistrate office and filed a police report. And I said, and when I originally went there, I just wanted a protective order. I didn't want her anywhere around me. He said, in order to get a protective order, I must file charges. So he filed charges for stalking.
Do you have the police report?
No, I don't have the police report, but I have when we went to court and what happened at court and everything.
Okay. Well, just hold on to that for a second. So you were notified in the mail that you had to turn yourself in?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you given a trial date?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the trial date? You were arraigned first?
Yes, ma'am, on the 25th.
Okay, but you were allowed to go home?
Yes, ma'am.
So on the 25th of April, you were arraigned. Did you make another appearance in court after the 25th? When?
It was later on that May 26th, I believe.
Was that your last court appearance?
Yes, ma'am.
So on May 26th, the case was resolved?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a lawyer?
Yeah, a court-appointed lawyer.
They're still lawyers?
Yes, ma'am.
So you had a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And you discussed the case with the lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what happened in court, Miss Gray?
Yes, ma'am. He came up and...
Who's he?
My lawyer and the district attorney. They went up and they said that both parties have agreed not to come in contact with one another. And then I didn't have to come to any court dates. I called and they said the case was dismissed. Well, it will be dismissed on June 3rd.
So the case is not dismissed yet?
That's
as
right.
long as we stay away from each other.
No,
yes, ma'am.
that's not what it says.
Her niece, Vivica Lewis, had her falsely arrested for stalking. Vivica says after she caught her aunt cheating with another man, Kimberly threatened to kill her.
Can I see the piece of paper that you have, please?
Your Honor, I would like to point out that I made a complaint against them on the 24th of March, and how convenient her stalking was to mine, because they did follow me to my home, because I got my friend to take me home. They drove up behind me, and they pulled in the driveway, but as we were traveling to my home, they were honking the horn, flashing their lights, and they were on our bumper. So when I got to my home, they came up and pulled behind me. They pulled out, and they was at my driveway, and she yelled out she was gonna beat my A, and that I got you now, B, and then she was saying something else to my friend, and I walked in my house to get my dad, and by the time I got him out the house, they were gone, and my police report was filed on the 24th, and I called the police at 9:33 in the morning. So it was no way in the world that I could call her. I have the police report.
Ms. Gray, I want you to pay careful attention to
Yes, ma'am.
On the 26th of May, according to these papers, you entered a plea of nolo contendere, which means you pled no contest to the charges.
Ma'am.
And you were ordered by the court to pay costs.
Yes, ma'am.
As a result of your plea of no contest, and the protective order that was issued in favor of the defendant. And I am certain that your lawyer explained to you that a plea of nolo contendere, no contest, is the same as a plea of guilty.
Ma'am.
Did your lawyer explain that to you?
No, ma'am, we
well,
never
he should
discussed.
have. He or
We
she.
never discussed pleading guilty or not guilty. Because I told him at the trial, I was like, I'm not pleading guilty for something that I didn't do. He said, ma'am, you're not pleading guilty because you're coming into agreement that you're not going to mess with the defendant anymore. I was like, sir, I did not do this. And they should have it on court record that I said it to him because I said it out loud in court.
All I can tell you is what I read in the certificate of disposition of the case. And your case is what we call adjourned in contemplation of dismissal, which means it's not dismissed yet. But if you, as I said, stay away from her, then the case will be dismissed and the order of protection lifted. So you have no civil claim against her, Ms. Gray.
Ma'am,
you have no civil
I
case
didn't know.
against her.
I did not know.
As long as you pled what is equivalent to a guilty plea, which is a plea of no contest.
Okay.
You should have gone to trial, maybe, and pled not guilty and continued to go to trial. Maybe your case would have been dismissed. If it was dismissed, then you might have a civil suit against her, but you didn't. You pled no contest. Is this your husband?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is a friend that I was with on the time that she said that I was stalking her, and and he was there.
Are you separated from your husband now?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's your child?
He's with me. I got full custody of my son.
That's not true either.
Yes, ma'am.
They haven't even filed for separation papers. He kicked her out because she doesn't want to clean, cook, or nothing. And she took the baby with her.
That's not usually a reason.
No, because
I'd be out on the streets.
She takes all the money out the bank. He had a down payment, you know, and that's why they just back and forth.
Where's the child?
With me.
With her, living with her, but they haven't been to court for custody or anything.
Okay. Does your husband see the child?
No, ma'am. He comes like once in a blue moon, so he does not come see him. He does not pay anything for him.
That's a lie. He has an order to pay her $200 a month for the child.
I didn't even get this. I'm sorry. This is new to me.
What you
I
are.
got
That's
it.
what you have
Just
said.
a
She's
second,
had
while they
contact
had-
with me. I'm just going off what she said to me.
Then they have to have been to court.
I don't
Listen
know
to me.
Or not.
Well, I'm telling you, if he has a child support order of $200 a month, which is what you're telling me, then they have to have been to court, and your brother has an order to pay support, and I assume visitation, which he certainly should avail himself
yes,
of.
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Good. Stay away from her.
I haven't been near her.
Perfect.
Thanks.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It went fairly, and she's crazy. She needs some treatment.
I don't understand how would she lie and say all these things and they weren't true.
We don't really want to have anything to do. She's trying to force herself upon us.
I have had problems with them ever since I got with my husband.
We don't want to have anything to do with her because she lies so bad.
She had no right to follow me. I wasn't with my husband. He had a girlfriend.
She's a liar. I just hate the fact that she lies.
Don't get mixed up with crazy family.
6-year-old homemaker Pamela Williams is suing her former friend, 28-year-old hairstylist Shay Stewart, for an unpaid car loan and utility bills. Shay says she worked off the debt by braiding hair.
Well, I'm going to cut right to the chase here because the facts are a little bit complicated on the plaintiff's side, so I'm going to just cut right through them. You and the defendant were friends for many years, and she was going through some hard times, and you helped her out. In 1996, you co-signed for a car for her.
Correct.
She couldn't get a car on her own. So far, that's correct.
Right.
And during the next few years, she had serious problems paying for that car. And during the course of several transactions, the car was repossessed. You had to go and sign a paper, again, co-signing in order to make sure your credit was clean and the car was paid for. She got the car back. You did not get the car back. But there was a substantial amount left owing on the car, even when they sold it off for whatever. They sold it, and there was a big chunk of money left off. She agreed to pay that so that, again, your credit would not be destroyed. So far, is that correct? You agreed to pay that?
I agreed to pay that with the judge, yes, but she was supposed to have been released from all
But she wasn't. She had to co-sign for you. And as it turned out, you again did not pay that judgment, so that they contacted the plaintiff. Plaintiff ultimately worked out a resolution with them for less money than they wanted, and you paid on her car loan how much?
$2,200.
So you paid $2,200 on the balance of what she owed on the car.
Yes.
And during this same time period, she ran into some additional difficulty. She didn't have money for utilities, and you gave her some additional money.
Yes.
How much?
It was $80 for electric and $126.95 for the gas.
And you acknowledge she gave you that money?
Yes, but it wasn't a loan. She gave it to me.
Oh, she's tripping. She's tripping.
Just a second. Don't speak. 2, 3, 4. Okay. That's $24.06 and change.
Exactly.
Okay,
However,
can
I did include the certified mail to the attorneys when I sent the check, so I put the $3.90 some odd cents to send it.
Okay. Okay. Your defense to this entire action, Ms. Stewart, is that there was an agreement that you would pay off this debt to the plaintiff by braiding her children's hair.
Right, that I've been doing throughout the years.
Okay. So I want you to tell me about that agreement.
The agreement, she told me that she had to pay the payment back, and that that's what she wound up being stuck with having to do, and that I owed her, and that we would make the arrangements by me braiding the girl's hair and hers. When I met her, she didn't even have any hair, and the kid's hair was in bad condition. But throughout the years, in the course of time,
How many years did you braid their hair? Starting when?
94, 95.
So is what you're telling me that she agreed to co-sign for this car loan and she paid off this loan for you because from the time that you were braiding her children's hair, even before you bought the car, in 95, you were braiding her hair and weren't charging her?
No, I was charging her up until that point.
Up until what point?
Up until after I fell delinquent in my car payment.
Until what year?
97, 98, somewhere up in there.
Did you ever have an agreement, Miss Williams, with Miss Stewart, that she could work off this debt she owed you by braiding your children's hair?
No, actually, the debt that she was supposed to work off by braiding the children's hair was for an exercise machine that I loaned her, which got misplaced somehow.
That I've been paid for.
And it was $300. Exactly, but the machine that that was the only thing that we ever bartered hair for. That's because this costs nothing. This was, as far as I was concerned, an inanimate object. Okay, you lose it, you can do the hair for it, that's fine. But when you put out cash money that could go into my children's mouths, that's a lot different.
The aggravation that you caused her should have caused you to braid her children's hair for nothing. Just the aggravation. Twice, she was subject to legal process. She had to take 20, what kind of work do you do for
Which
a
I
living?
voluntarily went to court with her on to help
Just a
release
second,
her
this is
from
your
it.
debt. What do you mean you voluntarily went with her? You're
I didn't
supposed
have
to voluntarily
go.
go
I
with
just
her.
had it stuck on my credit, and that was it.
No, it's also stuck on her credit.
And that's why I went.
You don't get it. What kind of work do you do for a living?
I'm just a homemaker.
Goodness gracious me. Miss Stewart, when somebody extends a helping hand to you, you're supposed to do the right thing. You're not supposed to do the wrong thing.
And that's what I did, Your Honor.
You
by
didn't
going
do
to court with her.
By going to court with her, this was not her debt, it was your debt.
Yeah, but they was talking about taking her house back. Taking her house from her then.
You should have braided her children's hair until they were receiving Social Security for all the trouble you caused her.
I don't
They were
owe
threatening
her.
to take her house away because she co-signed a car for you that you didn't pay for, and you think it was nice of you to go to court with her? Yes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,409, which includes the certified mail. Goodbye.
Heidi's excused. You may step out.
When I spoke with her, it was just immediately, it was for the braids. So I immediately went down the file.
I hope that the plaintiff is happy with the results because she's lost a friend.
I love her dearly. She's a good friend.
I just think that the verdict was very unfair.
Well, thank God the judge is so wise.
I don't believe it had to come this far.
Guess you have to be aware when somebody...
Musician James Levens is suing his ex-landlord, 42-year-old Sherry Radigan, for making false assault charges. James says Sherry's lie caused him to be arrested.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 393 on the calendar, the matter Levens versus Radigan. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Levens, you rented a room in the defendant's home, and it is your claim that she falsely accused you at some point of assault, resulting in your arrest. You had to retain an attorney. All the charges were subsequently dismissed, and you want the defendant to pay for all of your out-of-pocket expenses as a result of that arrest, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it is the defendant's position that you did, in fact, assault her, and that your lawsuit is frivolous, correct?
Yes.
When did you begin your tenancy with the defendant?
December 1st of 1999.
And when did the altercation happen that resulted in your leaving?
February 17th of 2000.
So you lived there a very short time, 2 months.
Yes, Your Honor.
Were there any other tenants in the house?
Yes, as a matter of fact, during the month of December, she went through about 3 in the other room, and then there was one that had been there the whole time in the dining room, which had been converted into a bedroom.
So how many tenants in total? December, January, and February?
There were 3.
And what was your rent?
Well, she lowered it a couple different times. Started off wanted $500, ended up $400, then she lowered it down to $350 because she wanted me to. She didn't want me to move out. I gave her notice, and she said it was hard to find good roommates, and she kind of desperate. It almost seemed.
I gather from the complaint that Ms. Radigan, you were putting new carpet in or having the carpets cleaned in the house. What day was that?
That was February the 17th.
Tell me what happened on the 17th of February.
I was about 7:30 a.m. I was sleeping. I worked nights, and I'd probably been asleep for a couple hours. She came, knocked on the door, said, we're going to have the rooms cleaned today. Could she come in and move stuff out from the middle of the room? I said, okay. And she started to do that, and she said, you got to get up. And I said, well, my room really doesn't need it. I was kind of waking up, and I said, my room's fine. She said, no, we're doing the whole house. And I said, well, my room doesn't need it. And I was still kind of sleepy. And I said, well, do my room last. I said, it doesn't really need it. And she left. And then she came, a little time later, came barging in again and said, you're out of here. She said, that's it. You have to move out today. John and the boys are coming. They're moving you out. And all your stuff's going to be in the street. And she grabbed my chair and started moving my stuff out.
Moving what stuff out?
The chair was what she was moving out.
She was taking the chair out.
Like to demonstrate she was going to take everything out, and by that day, all my stuff would be in the street, and I'm out of there.
That's not true.
Just a minute, I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond. What happened next?
I grabbed my cell phone, I went out to the driveway, and I called the police.
At any time, did you put your hands on the defendant?
No, Your Honor.
When she picked up your chair, did you put your hand on her to stop her?
No, she just kind of plowed right on out the front, out my bedroom door, out into the living room.
So you went outside and you called the police?
Yes.
Do you have a police report?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. Now, the police ultimately arrived, is that right?
Yes.
When they arrived, what happened?
I told them that she was threatening to move my stuff out into the street, and that I was out of there today, and she's got some guys coming over, they're going to move me out, and I was afraid to leave, and that I'd paid rent, and I told them then, I said, I'm going to move at the end of the month, though.
So what happened?
Then they went inside and talked to her. A few minutes later, then they came out and asked me if I had touched her. I said, no. She said, well, she's claiming assault. I said, and they went back in, talked to the roommate. The roommate said he didn't see any.
Which roommate?
There's one that was right down the hall from me, straight across.
Don't tell me what the roommate said unless the roommate's here.
Okay. They said there was no assault, nothing happened. They said, leave. Told her to leave me alone, said, leave each other alone. He's leaving at the end of the month, and they left.
What happened next?
2 days later, I got at work, deputy sheriff came and had a restraining order, said I couldn't go home.
Now we'll hear you.
Okay, on February the 15th, I let Jimmy Lee know that I was going to be having the carpets cleaned. And he said, that's fine. And I told him, you'd have to have everything off the floor so that they can just come in and do the carpet. So the day after that, I reminded him that night before he went to work, they are coming, so, have your stuff up. And the next morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, the carpet people were going to be there at 8:30. I went in there, I knocked on his door, and I told him, the carpet people will be here in 30 minutes. And he just started cursing at me, telling me that he wasn't getting up and that his carpet is not going to get cleaned. So then what happened is I asked him, I said, the door is still shut. I asked him, is it okay, can I just come in and pick the stuff off the floor? He said, fine. So I went in, I got the chair, a desk chair, rolled it out into the hallway right there, already out of his room. He came back in back of me. I didn't even know he got up. He came back in the back of me. He pulled me around by my arm. He took me, violently shook me, and threw me onto the chair. And he proceeded to go ahead and do whatever, hit me or whatever. And my other roommate, his room was right there, and I called out to him, and he came and had to remove him off of me.
Is that person here?
No, ma'am.
Then the police arrived, and you told the police your story. Is that right?
Yes, I called the police.
Oh, so did he?
Mm-hmm.
The police arrived, and each of you were told to leave each other alone, and he advised police, who in turn advised you, that he would be moving out at the end of the month. Is that right?
No.
They didn't tell you that he would be moving out the end of the month?
No, he did
Did he
not.
tell you that he would be moving out the end of the month?
No, he didn't.
He didn't. But you certainly wanted him out of the house.
Exactly.
Says ex-landlord Sherry Radigan owes for having him falsely arrested. James says after an argument, Sherry told police he assaulted her.
Several days later, you went back to the police. Is that right?
Right.
And you went to the police and said, I want to file assault charges against him.
Mm-hmm. I filed a report.
You said, I want to file, I read the report.
Okay,
You said,
yeah.
I want to file assault charges against him. Is that right?
Yes.
And you told the police another version of what happened. You said that the first officer had taken an incomplete version.
Correct.
And you were very careful this time to go over all of the details precisely. Is that correct?
Yes, I was
to make
very
sure
distraught.
that this officer got all of the facts straight.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And it was clear at that time, that several days later, that you wanted the plaintiff out of the house. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you make an attempt to go to housing court to have him evicted?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. You went to the police to get a restraining order to put him out of the house. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me tell you, Miss Radigan, the first officer that you spoke to reports no injury. Officer said that he spoke to a witness, this is in his police report, who did not see any physical interaction but did hear arguing. You stated that the plaintiff grabbed her with both hands and pushed her out of the room.
No.
That, I'm telling you what the police officer stated in quotes that you told him. He grabbed you with both hands and pushed you out of his room. That's what you told.
Oh, I was very distraught at
Hey,
the
listen,
time.
Miss Radigan. Distraught. Then, after a few days, when you realize that nothing's going to happen, you go back to the police and insist on filing another report of assault, the same assault that allegedly happened on the 17th. And let me tell you what you told the officer at that time. You say, grabbed her by both arms and pushed me down on the floor. Now, that was the time when you went to the police and you wanted to make very, very sure that you got it 100% right. Then you filed this case today in which you swore in your deposition, he came up behind me, grabbed my arm, and turned me around and shook me really hard. Then, in the story that you tell me now, 2 seconds ago, you say, he came up from behind, he grabbed you, and he threw you down in a chair.
No, I said he shook me.
Yo, you just told me he shook you and he threw you down in a chair.
Exactly. I mean,
the question that I have to resolve, Miss Radigan, is whether you abused the process of the courts and the justice system in an attempt to see to it that he was evicted from your house very quickly, because he probably, if you rent rooms, know how hard it is to get out a tenant, since he had paid his February rent. Even if you try to get him evicted sometime in the middle of February, he's not going to get out for months if he doesn't want to go. You wanted him out. You insisted upon filing assault charges against him. You were not injured in any way, and you abused process. Now, let me see the certificate of disposition with this assault case. I know what you did, and you know what you did. How much did you actually pay this attorney, sir?
$5,000.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Everything he said was a lie, every bit of it.
Sherry uses the judicial system to get her way.
The only way I could get him out was to get a protective order.
Sherry is a very controlling person, and when she doesn't get her way, she throws a fit in the one way that she knows, into claiming that she was hurt.
Is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old military serviceman Gerald Vasala, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Gerald says the money was a gift.
Miss Kittle, the defendant was a boyfriend of yours. You dated for a while, and then you were foolish enough to loan him some money so that he could purchase a car, according to you. Mr. Vasala acknowledges the fact that you gave him money for the car. Only Mr. Vasala says there was no loan. This was a gift that you made to him. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
When did he purchase this car?
February 10th of 2001.
Were you still dating at the time?
Yes, we were.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you turning money over to him.
We went to a used car sale.
Look at me.
We went to a used car sale at Qualcomm Stadium. He could only withdraw $350 at that time. According to him, his bank was located in Chicago. He couldn't go to the bank and withdraw the money. I told him I could go to my bank. I had Wells Fargo. I could withdraw the money and loan it to him, and he could pay me back the following day.
How much did you take out of your account and give him that day?
$1,800.
So far, did she give you $1,800?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all we want to know. And you have proof of that with a bank withdrawal, I
Yes.
assume. Can I see it, please? What kind of a car did you purchase?
1987 Oldsmobile Color Supreme.
And how much was the total purchase price?
I think $21.50 was the total.
So the next day comes, he didn't give you back the money.
No.
So I'll hear you.
Well, she did give me the money to purchase a car. Like I said, she gave it to me. It wasn't a loan. I'm freezing up right now.
Freezing? This is not a good time to freeze, sir.
I know that.
Let me see if I can make it easier for you.
Okay.
You're at this car sale.
Right.
You see a car that you like.
Right.
When you saw the one that you liked, did you have to negotiate the price with
Yes.
someone?
Yes.
Who did you negotiate the price
With
with?
a car salesman.
And what was the original purchase price?
I think it was, I'm not sure, somewhere in the lower threes. I'm not sure exactly.
And you dickered back and forth, and you finally came up with a price?
Right.
So now he says to you, okay. What's your first name?
Gerald.
Do they call you Gerald?
Oh, Jerry.
Okay, Jerry, we got a deal. $21.50. You got me down. You're a great negotiator, Jerry. $21.50. Where's your money?
At the bank.
At the bank.
Right.
Okay. So is that what you told the salesman?
Yeah, we got in
And
the
then you
car.
went to the bank
Yes.
with the plaintiff.
Right.
And what happened when you got to the bank?
I tried taking the money out of the ATM. I wasn't aware there was a limit, so I was only take out $3 or $3.50.
Okay, so you get to the bank and you're really surprised, Jerry, that you
Right.
could only take out $3.50 because you had enough money to cover it, right?
Right.
Because you wouldn't have bought this car if you'd had, at that moment, if you didn't have enough
Correct.
money to cover it,
Yes.
right? So, gee, all I can take out is $3.50. What's your first name?
Kristen.
Kristen. All I can take out is $3.50. I love this car. So Kristen says, don't worry, I can give you the money. Right?
Right.
Because I have Wells Fargo. Jerry, are you getting my point?
Yes, I get your point.
So Kristen, your girlfriend, says, don't worry, I can take out the other $1,800 and you'll give it back to me. Excuse me? You don't want to say anything, do you?
No, I haven't.
So she takes out the $1,800 and she gives it to you.
Yes.
When for the first time did Miss Kittle ask you for this money back?
After we had broken up.
And how much later was that?
A few months. I'm not sure exactly how long.
Really?
Right.
No. When did you ask him for the money back?
I asked him for the money back when we were together. He said he couldn't pay it all back. He had other debts. He needed to get another job, and he asked for some more time. And I said, you know what, we're together at the time.
Well,
I'll
let
give
me
you-"
ask you this question. You're not together now, are you?
Oh, no.
He said to you he didn't have all the money right then and there. However, old Jerry told you he wanted to go to the bank. Put your papers down, Jerry.
Okay.
He said, let's go to the bank so I can get out the money. So the next day or a couple of days later, when he said to you, well, I don't have all the money, common sense would suggest you say to him, Jerry, you had the money in the bank when you bought the car because you just said you couldn't get all the money out because they would only give you $350. So you had the money in the bank. Why won't you give it to me?
Well,
Wouldn't that be part of your conversation with him?
Well, actually, can I tell you what happened was that...
Yeah, I want you to actually tell me what happened.
Okay, actually, afterwards, he allegedly said that he got $1,000 stolen from him. He was staying at the military hospital at the time, and he was going home to Chicago. He owed his mom $500. He had other debts to pay, and he didn't have the money to pay me back at the time.
So he asked you if you would wait.
Yes.
And you said?
I said, that's fine. I still have a little bit of money in the bank. That's fine.
And then shortly thereafter, you broke up.
Yes.
And when you broke up, you filed a lawsuit against him.
Yes.
And then he tried to whittle his way back into your good graces.
So-so, yes.
But so you withdrew the lawsuit at that time.
He said he wanted to get a job to make some money. I tried to.
So you
This was
withdrew
my
the
last
lawsuit
resort.
at that time?
Yes.
Fine. Now, old Jerry, you made some payments on this car.
Yes.
To her?
Only
When?
to try and stop it from coming to court.
When?
When? I don't know the exact dates. She probably has them.
Well, before or after you broke up with her the second time?
Before.
How much does he still owe you?
He owes me $1,600.
Jerry, it's not nice to try to fool Mother Nature, sir. You understand
Not
that?
trying to fool nobody.
Yes, you did.
All right, can I go back for a second here?
Can you go back for a second?
Yeah,
Where,
because
Jerry?
I approved fair that I had the money to pay her back. And when I tried paying her, she was telling me, no, it's not necessary. I tried
Oh,
getting her
yes.
routing and account number.
Yes, I understand that. Papers say that you tried to get her routing number so that you could wire the money into her account,
Right,
right? And that you had trouble getting her routing number.
right.
I know, I got that. I read that in the paper. So why did you just get a check? That check
No.
and mail it
She
to
told
her?
me not to worry about it. She told me you don't have to pay me back.
Never happened.
It did happen.
Never
It did happen.
happened.
You weren't there. I was. It happened.
Listen, Jerry, what happened was you went, you could only take out $350 from the bank.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted the car. She said, I can get the money for you. You're a couple. She got the money. She expected to be paid back. You fetched and cried like a baby, and you said, I got other bills, money was stolen, I owe my mother $500, could I take a little time to pay you back? And she said, sure. So you took care of what you considered your other responsibilities, and then when you got around to it, you sent her $50 here and $50 there, and all of a sudden you made up in your mind that this was really a gift. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600, that's all.
Parties are
Thanks.
excused. You may step out.
She follows me. She's waiting in parking lots for me. She walked in my house unannounced, calls all hours of the night.
All I have to say is what's done is done. It's in the past.
I tried doing it so it didn't have to come to court.
I've had to borrow money from my parents. I'm in debt.
I would pay her $16,000 for her to leave me alone, so.
3-year-old contractor Hugh Houston is suing his former friend, 36-year-old videographer Paul Pierce, for the return of a rifle. Paul says the rifle was a gift. He is countersuing for unpaid bills and damage to his home.
Order. Come to order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 416 on the calendar in the matter of Houston versus Pierce. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Thank you, Bert.
You're quite welcome, Judge.
You're not involved with this case yet, perhaps as a witness. Is that right? Why don't you have a seat? Okay. And neither are you, so why don't you have a seat?
Okay.
Mr. Houston, the defendant was a friend of yours.
Yep.
You had been arrested for domestic violence, and according to your complaint, called the defendant and asked for his help. And according to you, you said to him, you can take my rifle and hold it as collateral for some money that I'm going to give you for being such a good friend.
Yep.
That's not true.
Just a second. Then you got out of jail, and he refuses to return the rifle to you, despite the fact that you offered them $100 for it.
Yep.
You want the rifle back.
Yes, ma'am.
Defendant says that the rifle was given to him as a gift.
That's right.
And in addition, he is counterclaiming for some nonsense about fluorescent light bulb.
He spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time.
Whatever. We'll get there.
It's not nonsense, Your Honor.
Mr. Houston, when were you arrested, sir?
The first time I was arrested was August 4th, and that got dismissed and dropped to disturbing the peace.
Your Honor, he was arrested in
later in September,
Don't interrupt.
my wife and I got in another fight. The neighbors called the police. When the police showed up, they got on the computer and saw that there was a no contact order, so they arrested me. When I saw the judge for arraignment, they immediately said 2.5 years in jail and a $50,000 bond, which basically scared me to death.
That's when he got his wife a life on.
Listen to me. If you interrupt again, it's not going to be good for your case. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good.
So at that point, I tried to make phone calls to my sister and to my wife, and I couldn't do that through the phone system in the jail. And so I was calling Paul to assist me in that situation. He had an attitude that he didn't want to be bothered with it. We were supposed to be friends. I mean, we've been friends for 7 years.
Let's get to the rifle, please.
It came up with a situation where I offered him $100 to help me out, if that's what it took to get my friend to help.
He offered me his deer rifle.
And
I am going to throw you out if you do it again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
We proceed my way, which is I hear him, I hear you, I ask questions. If I look at you, you respond. If I don't look at you, you don't speak. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So you offered him $100 to help you. That's what you're telling me.
In a sense, and I asked him if he could go pick up my items, so when I got out, I would not be able to go back home. And he acted annoyed. He didn't really want to do this, so that's when I offered him the $100 situation. I says, look, Paul, when you go pick up my stuff, you can hold my rifle for me as collateral until I pay the $100. And then all of a sudden he was all excited about, well, okay, I'll help you out.
And then you got out of jail, and he helped you out.
Well, when I got out of jail...
No, he helped you out.
He made phone calls.
Good.
And he went and got my stuff for me, my truck.
Okay, and the rifle.
Yeah. Now, when I got out of jail, he wouldn't let me stay at his home because he had his grandparents over there. But besides that fact, my wife had moved out of the house. And so I immediately went and got a court order to allow me to move back into my own home.
Now, okay, let's get to the rifle.
He came over to my house, and he sat down and started talking, and I asked him to go get my rifle, and I give him a $100 check. And he at that time told me that he had given it to his father, which made me very off. So I asked him to leave my home immediately because I didn't want to get in trouble for any kind of domestic violence.
Okay. Now, sir, I'll hear your version of the rifle.
Okay, he was in and out of jail starting in April. I picked him up from jail every time he was there.
How many times did you pick him up?
At least 3. I can remember. I took him out to dinner after I picked him up, gave him cigarettes when he got out of jail. He called me repeatedly, constantly, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day, whining and crying he's in jail. Please get me out of here, please get me out of here. Of course, the last time he got out of jail, I didn't give him a place to stay because my grandparents were there. That was the last time. Plus, I was fed up with it anyway. Now, come to the rifle, he's crying on the phone, whining. I'm doing everything I can, bending over backwards for the guy.
He called you from jail?
Yeah, constantly. He goes, you know, for helping me out, you're such a good friend, and I don't have any money to give you, but I'll give you the rifle because I know you like it for your time and effort and just bending over backwards for me. Well, as a friend, that's great. So I took the rifle. So we went to pick up the rifle from Darla, me and my wife, and when I got the rifle, she goes, don't ever let Rhett buy this rifle back or give it to him because if something happens to you, it's going to be on your conscience. Next thing you know, I pick up Darla from the hospital because her arm's all bruised up and sprained.
Is that as a result of this domestic violence dispute?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Then I just decided forget it. I got the rifle out of my control, and I said, forget it. I'm not going to let him buy it back from me. I'm not going to even give it back. Because if something does happen, it is on my conscience.
Well, just 1 second. Was there any mention at the point where he said take the rifle of his wanting to buy the rifle back from you?
No, not at all.
At that point, he just said take it.
For my time and effort and everything else.
I believe you.
Okay.
Because I watched his eyes when he said to me...
I have a witness that heard the conversation.
Really?
My witness heard the conversation on the speakerphone.
I'm more than happy to hear a witness. Who's the witness?
My sister, Jade.
Tell me your name.
Jade Houston.
All right, Miss Houston. You overheard the conversation about the rifle?
My brother Hugh said, I'm giving him the rifle as collateral to give him $100 when I'm able to get back to work to get the money.
You heard him say that?
Yes, I did.
That's what he told her, but that's not what he told me.
I was on
That's not what he told me and my wife. That's not what he told me. She was on a speakerphone at the time he said it.
You're the wife?
Yes.
Step up.
Houston says after he was arrested for domestic violence, he gave former friend Paul Pierce a rifle as collateral for bail. Hugh says Paul refuses to return it.
Mrs. Houston, there came a time when the defendant came to your house when your husband was incarcerated. You evidently had a rifle in your house that belonged to your husband.
Yes.
What did Mr. Pierce say to you when he came to the house?
He said he needed to pick up the rifle and Hugh's belongings. And I was kind of scared, and I told him, you know, that he needed to keep this rifle because I was scared.
He never said to you at any time that he picked up the rifle, that it was just as collateral for other monies. Is that right?
No, he never said. He just said that he needed to pick up his gun and his tools and his truck and things like that.
Clothes,
yes.
and you gave it to him.
Yes.
And how many times had Mr. Pierce come to your husband's assistance when he had been incarcerated? More than 2?
I would say 2 or 3 times, yes.
Okay, and that was going to jail, taking care of the bail bondsman, whatever had to be done, coming to your house, picking up stuff for him, that sort of stuff?
Yes.
So he was a pretty reasonable friend. Are you a fair statement?
Yes, he was.
Are you back living together now?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
Well, we're not legally.
17 years.
We're not legally married is what she was going to say. How long have you been together?
17 years.
You have children?
1.
How old?
She's 9.
She at home when these acts of domestic violence take place?
Yes.
Big mistake. Have a seat.
Okay.
Okay. Let me hear. You may be seated. Let me hear about your counterclaim, Mr. Pierce.
I gave him petty cash. I bought him dinner a couple of times. He stayed in our guest house for a little while, and my wife keeps her ferret and her cat there.
This is a shack, not a guest house.
Mr. Houston,
doesn't
I don't
matter.
want Mr. Houston. Uncross your arms and be quiet unless I'm speaking to you.
Anyway, we let him stay in the studio. But the thing is he was taking the light bulbs out for some reason, the fluorescent light bulbs, taking them out. The ferret walks out. He jumps up onto the cot, breaks the cot, and broke the light bulbs. Now, I didn't see it, but he told my wife, and my wife had to clean it up. So we're suing for the light bulbs, the cot, all the collect calls from jail, which adds up to about $120.
Well, do you have proof of the
Yes, I do.
calls from jail? I'd like to see that, please.
There's a couple calls on there I didn't get on there. I misplaced the bill.
It's all right with you, ma'am. I'd like to see these phone numbers that he's claiming against me.
I'm going to absolutely show you, sir. All right. All I want you to do, Mr. Houston, is to take a look at these phone charges, sir. All collect calls.
I'd have to say that these calls are probably legit.
Okay, good. Fine.
Now, he did stay with us on and off, and yeah, he did get his place back after he got out of jail.
That's okay, sir. You had no rental agreement with him.
No.
Mr. Houston, I don't know whether anybody else gave you a pep talk about what happens when children witness acts of domestic
fully aware of it,
violence. I'm
ma'am.
sure that
At this point right now, I do have counseling happening, and I am attending it.
Anger management program?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
And what about your child? Is it a boy or a girl?
It's my daughter.
Is she in counseling as well?
No, she's not.
She ought to be.
She's a happy child.
She's not a happy child. Happy children don't see their parents fighting and their mothers ending up in slings. Happy children, if they hear
We had
arguing...
we had a very stressful time in our lives. My mother was dying, and our financial
I don't
situation
care.
was bad because I was doing a lot of traveling back and
Mr.
forth.
Houston, it doesn't make any difference.
I know it doesn't.
Children don't. All I'm doing is suggesting to you that if you're in counseling, I don't know if your wife is in counseling, but certainly if you want to be good parents, you make sure that your child has somebody to speak to, because that's important. She may not be able to verbalize it to you, but she's probably witnessed things that it's unfair for a child to have witnessed, and you're supposed to make sure that you are protective of her.
I totally agree with that.
Okay? And
what I don't agree with is the way you believe his story, because there's no way in a million years I'd give up my rifle.
Yes, you would. If you were in jail and you wanted out fast enough, you would.
Ma'am, it's not true. It's not true at all.
Yes, it is.
The fact of the matter, I was giving him $100 to cover the expenses of the situation.
Okay, no, you
now, I
can give
expected him to be a friend, and he really didn't want to act as one. And I offered, Paul, you can hold on to my rifle. It's collateral.
Can I ask
and that's what it became,
Can I ask you a
collateral.
question, sir? What acts of friendship have you done for Mr. Pierce?
The reason what have I done for him?
Yeah, I would like to.
This is a guy who came over to our house for holiday dinners. This is the guy I offered my garage for him to fix his car. While he dropped, when I asked him not to put oil all over my driveway, and he spilled oil all over the entire garage. And they smeared it all over the place. This is a man that has no integrity about anything whatsoever.
No, you're not answering my question, Mr. Houston. My question to you, sir, is what have you done in the framework of your friendship for Mr. Pierce?
He calls me periodically, lots of times, to talk about his son. He has a custody situation with his son.
So he
asks
calls
me
you
for
for
advice and guidance towards that situation.
I would never want. Shh.
He worked. Just recently, he had to rebuild the Toyota engine in his Toyota truck. I came over here about 3 days in a row and helped him with that. I'm a helpful guy. I go out of my way to help people when they need help.
It doesn't
I'm not
compare,
one to sit
it
there
doesn't
and
compare, Mr. Houston, to the aggravation that your incarcerations caused him. Doesn't compare.
But
Having him over for dinner is not it. And I can, quite frankly, Mr. Houston, envision the conversation of, you like the rifle, take it.
No,
and
ma'am,
you
it's
shouldn't have
not
the
the way
rifle
it
in your
went
possession
down.
anyway, so you're not getting the rifle back, and in addition, you're going to pay him for the phone calls that you made collect to his house in the amount of $160. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's a piece of garbage. I want my rifle back.
It's just slime bags like that, that take advantage of everybody.
You should have called him and said, do you have my money? If not, I'm going to get rid of the gun.
Darla needs to get out of that relationship. He constantly beat her for the last 10 or 15 years.
Take care of things by yourself and don't trust a soul.
35-year-old homemaker Jessica DeSanti Wentworth is suing her sister, 36-year-old nurse Lori Baccio, and her husband Frank Baccio. Jessica says after her 11-year-old daughter was hit by a bus, the couple held a fundraiser. and kept the money.
Miss Wentworth, the defendant is your sister and the co-defendant brother-in-law?
Yes.
According to what I've read, you have a daughter
Yes,
who
I
was
do.
in an automobile accident?
Bus accident, actually.
Bus hit her?
Yes.
And you had a lot of medical bills and expenses?
Yes.
Your sister and her husband had decided that they would hold a fundraiser.
Correct.
That's correct.
To help pay her expenses.
Yes, they
help
did.
you out. And they did. What kind of fundraiser was it?
We had a benefit at a bar that we have a lot of friends at, and it was we just had food and raffles and 50-50s and entertainment, things like that.
And how much money did you raise?
$1,017.
Did you put that money in a bank account?
No.
What'd you do with it?
We tried to. I asked for her, my niece's Social Security number, and I wasn't allowed to have it.
So what did you do with the money?
I was given to an aunt of mine, which I have a statement from her stating that she received the money on December 3rd and how much it was, and she had it, and she kept it.
Your lawsuit says you want the money.
Yes. Well, it's for my daughter. I think she deserves to have it.
How old is your daughter?
She's 11.
What do you mean you think she should have it?
Well, the fundraiser was for her and her medical expenses and whatever she needed. The accident did put me out of work, so therefore I'm surviving on my child support. She needs a lot of medical care. She goes to the doctor once a week. She needs prescriptions. She needs pain medicine.
Does she go to school?
No, she's tutored at home.
Now she's tutored at home.
She's been tutored at home since December.
What kind of medical bills do you have for her? Don't talk to me about you. Tell me what you have for her.
For her, I have $86,000 worth of medical bills for her.
Unreimbursed medical bills?
Yes.
She has a lawsuit other than...
Yeah, she's suing the people that hit her, and that's where the $86,000 is.
Exactly.
The things that we raised the money for was basically for small needs, prescriptions,
right?
any kind of cotton swabs, stuff like that.
Exactly.
But I told her
not
straight
you.
up in the beginning.
Just a second, Miss Wentworth, you're not entitled to this money. Let
I
me
know,
explain
my
to you.
daughter is.
You're not entitled to this money.
I'm not asking it for me.
Good. And you didn't raise this money.
Yes, I did help raise that money, actually. Yeah. We put out 5 collection jars in the town of Riverside and Delanco, which funded the benefit.
No, it didn't.
The only thing that Mr. Baccio paid for was the basket of cheer, which cost $65. Okay. He paid for that.
Fine.
Everything else came from the baskets that we collected
I told
money
anybody that was making anything or anything that they had to do with the benefit.
Yes, a lot of people donated things. I had
said,
2 delicatessens.
What? Listen to me. I don't think that the defendants want to use the money for themselves. That's my sense.
Exactly.
Exactly.
What I think that they want to ensure is that the money is used
for
your daughter.
Exactly.
Neither one of you is entitled to this money.
I know that.
Good. So I'm going to come up with a solution for you.
Okay.
Very good. We're going to put this money in a bank account for your daughter.
That's fine.
And the 3 of you will be on that account in addition to your daughter, which means that no one can withdraw any money from that account.
Okay.
Without
everybody's signature.
Right. And if you're smart, you're going to leave that $1,017 in there for the next 8 years until she's ready to go to school.
It'll stay
and
there.
maybe by that time, it'll be $2,000.
Right.
Isn't that a good idea?
That's
now,
fine.
I assume you have a lawsuit, as your brother-in-law says, with regard to this accident that
Yes,
your
I
daughter
do.
was involved in. And I'm sure she will be coming into a substantial amount of money as a result of a settlement.
Yes, it's going into a trust fund.
Who do you live with?
I live with Ron Berger. He's my fiance.
Does Ron Berger work?
Yes, he does. He has his own business.
Good. What kind of business does he have?
He's in the carpet business. He has a shop, home store.
And you have 1 child?
I have 4 children.
Is your 11-year-old the oldest or the youngest?
She's the second youngest.
And how old is the youngest?
7.
Your daughter requires full-time care.
Yes, she does.
Does she have anyone other than you providing that care?
No, besides Ron.
Is there any visiting nurse that comes
No.
in to give
No.
her or anything else?
I take care of her myself.
Okay. What's the nature of her injury now?
She has 6 metal rods in her leg. I have pictures if you'd like to see them.
No, just tell me.
She has an exterior fixator on her right leg. She uses a walker and a wheelchair. She's due to have an operation for the pins to come out in a couple weeks. Then she'll go into a half a body cast for the next 2 months, and then she'll start rehab to walk.
All right. So her injury was really to this one leg.
Yes.
I assume.
Yes, it is.
Okay. No other parts of her body were affected, so that she's going to have a recovery.
No. Yeah, she's
So
going to be fine.
Well, that's a good thing. So Put the money in an account. When your daughter is 18, it's a trust account.
That's
daughter's
fine.
18, get the money. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Perfect. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There's a lot of history there that I'd rather not discuss, but we don't get along.
Anytime she has any money, she doesn't put it where it's supposed to be. We just want Katie to have it when she needs it.
As long as the money goes to Caitlin, I'm satisfied.
Has nothing to do with us. It's about the kids.
I just want Katie to get what she deserves.
29-year-old personal trainer, April Thompson, is suing her former friend, 32-year-old construction worker, Lorenzo Aguilar, for the return of 2 English bulldogs.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please.
Your Honor, this is case number 410 on the calendar in the matter of Thompson versus Aguilar. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
This case is about your 2 bulldogs, and you claim that the defendant, without your permission, gave away these 2 dogs. So my first question to you is, how did he come into possession, into custody of your 2 bulldogs?
He worked at the dog daycare place where I used to take them, and I got in a position this summer where I had to move out where I was living at, and I didn't really have a place to keep them. And
when was that?
Middle of September.
And what did you do? You called him?
I had been up there at the daycare place, and he saw that I was stressed and everything about the whole situation and stuff, and he said that his brother had a yard and that he could take care of them for me.
Well, you must have told him that you couldn't take the dogs. You must have told him, I can't take the dogs.
Yes.
And he said, I have a brother who has a yard.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I thought that would be great. You know, if, I would have a place to keep them until I found a place to stay and everything, and he told me that I could come and see them.
Did you discuss how long you were going to leave the dogs with his brother?
It was only supposed to be temporary, maybe a couple weeks.
So the beginning of October?
Yes.
So between the 15th of September, which is mid-September, and the beginning of October, did you have contact with him?
I called all the time and never got a hold of him.
So you didn't speak to him?
No.
Did you go over to the doggy daycare?
Yeah, I went to the daycare place and...
did you see him?
No. He had lost his job during that time and was no longer working there.
How did you finally get in touch with him?
Finally, I think his family got tired of me calling the house all the time and coming by and leaving notes, and he finally got in touch with me, and he told me that he couldn't give me the dogs back because the kids were attached. And that wasn't the point of kids being attached. He was just supposed to temporarily take care of them.
When did you finally speak to him? What month?
In October.
Now, what was your living situation in the beginning of October?
I found a place to stay and everything so I could have them with me.
And you communicated that to him in October?
Yes, he said he was going to get a hold of the people who had them, and I didn't really understand what he meant by that because his brother was supposed to be taking care of them, and he said he couldn't get in touch with them.
How long had you had these dogs?
I've had the one 2 years and the other one 1.5 years. I mean, I have health insurance on them, and I don't even have health insurance on myself. I mean, I've make a scrapbook for my boyfriends of them. You know, they're my little boys. They're not really what I consider
Okay,
dogs.
Mr. Aguilar, let me hear your version of these events. Mid-September, she asked you what?
She came into the shop where I used to work out on a Friday afternoon, and she said she was having some problems. If I could watch them through the weekend. I said, sure. So once the weekend came up, Monday, I called her up. She said she was still having some problems. I said, oh, I'll watch them for a few more days.
Did you have her home phone or a cell phone?
I had both numbers.
Okay, go ahead.
So once those days came, I called her up, and I told her, you know what, I'm no longer working there. Come get your dogs. I couldn't keep them at the house anymore. So she says, I can't take them back if you can find them a home. And I said, my brother, he liked the dogs. He said, can you give him a try? I took him to my brother's house.
And what did she say when you said, I have a brother who can take care of them?
She said, fine. I said, yeah, there's no problem. You come and visit them once in a while. But it didn't work out at my brother's house. The landlord didn't accept the dogs there because they ruined the yard. Meanwhile, it was my brother's wife's cousin was in from out of town. He liked the dogs.
Did you call Miss Thompson and tell her it didn't work out at your brother's house?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes.
You did? You called her on her home phone or her cell phone?
Home.
And what did you tell her when you called her at her home phone?
I said that it didn't work out with my brother, that it was another family was watching the dogs now, that they wanted the dogs. And she told me to find a home. That's what I did. I just did what...
What did she say to you, sir, when you said to her, it didn't work out with my brother, but there's another family? Did she ask you who these people were?
No.
Didn't ask you anything about them?
No.
Didn't ask you whether they had children, whether they lived in a home, whether they had a yard?
Didn't ask me anything of that because 2 months passed by when she got in contact with me.
Not when she got in contact with you. I'm asking you, sir. You told me shortly after she gave you the dogs, you say you called her and told her about that.
Yes.
And she didn't ask you anything about these people. She said it was okay. Is that what you told me?
Yes.
And then months later, she called you and said, I want my dogs back.
Yes.
That's what you're telling me. December, maybe, she called and told you she wanted her dogs back?
The end of November.
End of November. And that was the first you had heard from her after you told her you were giving the dogs to your brother's wife's cousin.
Yes.
Now, Miss Thompson, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Did Mr. Aguilar call you and tell you that he was giving the dogs to his brother's wife's cousin?
No. As far as I knew, they were with his brother.
So you're telling me the beginning of October he never called you to tell you he was giving them to his other person? Now, if he had called you and said to you, my brother can't keep the dogs, but there's this other family, you would have asked him a couple of questions about the other family, right?
Right. They're my little family.
Can I see your scrapbook, please?
Oh, sorry.
While you were bringing the dogs to the doggy daycare, you brought them there while you were working, is that right? Talking about before this time, before you ran into some trouble during the summer.
Yes.
While you were working, you would bring them there during the day?
Yeah, normally on hot days because I do personal training and they go everywhere with me, so I couldn't. I kept them in the car a couple times with the air conditioner running, and you get a violation for that. So it was just a lot easier just to take them in to daycare and then come and pick them up.
And other than that, they were with you all the time?
Yeah, when they were puppies, they went in the gym bag with me.
Now, when you took them to doggy daycare, you had to pay for that.
Yeah, it's like $60 a day. Sometimes I pay more for the dog daycare than I do for my rent. You know, I mean,
I got you. Now, Mr. Aguilar, let me explain to you, sir, why I don't believe you. Because if you create a scrapbook like this of your pets, and if you pay a substantial amount of money for daycare for your dog, then a normal person, under the scenario that you created for me, when you said, I called her and told her my brother couldn't take care of the dogs anymore, but there was another family. The first question you would ask is, well, tell me about them. Where do they live? Do they have children? Is there a yard? Could I come to visit them? Because you said I could visit them when they were supposed to be with your brother. Now, you told me she asked you nothing, and all she said to you was fine. I don't believe that, Mr. Aguilar. Not for a minute.
Says former friend Lorenzo Aguilar refuses to return her 2 English bulldogs. Lorenzo says she told him to give them away.
Now, I don't know if you got any money for these dogs. English bulldogs are very expensive.
I know.
Very expensive, sir. So I'm not even going to ask you whether you got any money for these dogs. How much did you pay for them?
$1,500 a piece.
They're very expensive dogs. These people who you gave the dogs to, Mr. Aguilar, gave or sold or another way bartered these dogs for Mr. Aguilar, do they live out of the jurisdiction? Do they live out of state?
Up north in Fresno.
Have you spoken to them?
I contacted once that the previous owner wanted to visit, and they declined. They didn't want to have to do nothing with it.
Mm-hmm. Was any money exchanged for these dogs, Mr. Aguilar?
No.
Can I see the police report that you filed the beginning of November? Did the police ever contact you, sir?
Yes.
I don't have a write-up from the police with regard to their conversation with the defendant. Do you have any further follow-up from the police?
No, that's all that's all that I have. They told me that since I gave him permission to watch them, they're considered property, so I didn't really have a right which it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me either, and I don't buy Mr. Aguilar's story, quite frankly, that he spoke to you and you said he was going to give the dogs away to strangers. You asked no questions about the people that he was going to give the dogs to. That doesn't make any sense at all. The value that you gave the police for the dogs was $3,000. Is that right?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson, I know this is going to be a difficult question to answer. If you receive a judgment, you're going to purchase 2 new bulldogs?
They're not replaceable. I can't replace
I know, but
them.
I can't give you back the ones that you had because I don't have the people before me who have them. Do you understand? If I could, I would, but I don't have those people. If I could force them to do that, I would, but I can't. Those people aren't here. So I'm going to ask you the question again. If you receive a judgment today in the amount of $3,000, is it your intention to, I can't say replace your dogs because you can't replace them, but would it be your intention to start again with 2 new puppies of the same breed?
I don't know. I didn't really think about not getting them back.
Well, you understand that he doesn't have them physically, so I can't get them from him. You understand that?
Yes.
Well, I'm at least going to give you an opportunity to think about it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'll try to get the dogs back for her, and I couldn't.
I need to make sure and get stuff in writing next time rather than just trust people on what they say.
Lentz, Anna Newell, and Kelly Kaloje are suing their former roommate, 19-year-old student Michael Conover, for breaking a lease. Michael says he never signed a lease.
All right, Miss King, you and your 3 co-plaintiffs were in college. You got an apartment, the 4 of you, and you agreed, according to you, to have the defendant as your 5th roommate. Is that right?
That's correct.
The 4 of you signed a lease? Correct. Is that right?
Yes.
The defendant did not sign the lease. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the 4 of you had agreed to share this apartment before the defendant came into the picture?
That's correct.
According to you, the defendant stayed until Thanksgiving when he unceremoniously left, leaving a mess, leaving the heat turned up, leaving beer cans all over, whatever. He left a mess. Gave you no notice. You want him to pay his share of the 5th of the rent for the entire duration of the lease, which is 1 year.
Correct.
And utility bills, et cetera. That's what your lawsuit is.
Yes.
The defendant says he was never on the lease and you were rude to his girlfriend. So that's why he moved out, and if you hadn't been rude, then he would have stayed. That's your defense, right?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did not the defendant sign the lease?
Well, upon contacting...
Fast.
Okay. We contacted him. We told him what the lease was, a year long. We told him he had to go to the office and sign the lease.
But he never did.
He never did.
What'd you let him move in for?
He told us that he would.
But he didn't.
Correct.
And he lived there the entire month of September?
Yes. Paid rent, paid utilities.
Entire month of September, entire month of October, and part of November, and you never saw to it that he signed the lease?
He told us that he had taken care of it.
Did you go down and make sure that he took care of it?
Well, the complex told us within the first month, Michael needs to go down and sign the lease. Okay, he didn't sign the lease. We didn't know that. But
okay. Now, ladies, after he moved out, what did you do to try to replace him as a roommate?
We tried to, we couldn't replace him because his stuff is still in his bedroom. He's got
Throw it in the garbage.
We didn't know legally if that was okay because...
I'm telling you, why didn't you pick up your stuff?
I didn't have, all I had was a hatchback and another car to move my stuff. I had
Just a second. Are you telling me that your stuff is still in your room?
I have my bed frame and mattresses, yes.
Oh, sir, then you have to pay rent. What is wrong with you, sir? You move out, and you have to put the apartment in a position where they can at least try to bring down their damages by trying to rent it. You're telling me that you didn't move your stuff because you have a small car?
No,
Is that what you're telling me?
No.
Well, why didn't you move your bedroom set out of there and your furniture?
I moved as much stuff as I could on the day that I moved out, but the reason I didn't get the furniture is because, like, I didn't have the vehicle to get it transported, like, to take it to my new apartment. I didn't want to come back while they were there because I didn't want there to be a confrontation. I didn't want there to be any trouble. So, like, and then I found out that they were suing me, so I definitely didn't want to go in there without anybody's permission to take the stuff. I didn't want to get any more trouble than I already
When
was.
did you ask if you could get your stuff out?
I didn't ask anybody. And I never
So
asked.
then you never asked anybody. So
No.
what you're telling me is you didn't move your stuff out when you moved out because you didn't have a big enough car.
Right.
Jerk. You moved out in November. Did you pay November's share of your rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he pay November's share of his rent?
he paid November, yet he still has an August rent that he did not pay. He had a bounce check that he tried to pay We have.
Did he pay August rent?
No.
So he's behind 1 month?
Right.
So far?
December.
Until the time that he moved out?
Correct.
Okay. How much was his share of the rent?
$220 plus.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
$220. November you paid.
Yes.
You didn't pay December. Is that right?
No, I did not.
And your junk is still there.
Yeah.
Your stuff is still there. January, is that right?
Yes.
Now, let's get into February. Have you tried to look for another roommate?
Well, the way our semester system works, we feel that it's impossible now to get a lease because of the semester has already started. People have already signed leases.
We have contacted our apartment complex. They said that every now and then they'll get people who want to sublease for a semester and a summer. We've contacted them, told them if anyone gets in contact with them to let us know, but so far they've had nothing.
Okay.
And Your Honor, we physically can't move his stuff. His
Oh,
bedroom
no,
stuff.
I'm going to take care of that right now. Okay. Okay? Thank you. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to make this very, very fast. Within 3 days, sir, you are to get an appropriate van at exactly noon.
Okay.
72 hours from today, you are to be at the complex to get your furniture. If you are not there, I am going to draft an order that they can take your furniture and donate it to Salvation Army. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand? Yes. Donate it to Salvation Army, give it away, throw it out on the street, call garbage. Anything that's there after 12 o'clock, 72 hours from today, is trash. Or sell it. Sell it. Do you understand? Now, I am giving you ladies rent for the month of August, his share, the month of December, do you understand? Yes. The month of January, the month of February, and the month of March. That gives you more than ample time to try to find somebody to fill in for his share of the rent. The fact that they were rude to you, sir, is meaningless to me. You had an obligation. And instead of sitting down like a human being and saying, listen, this is not working out, let's try to find a way to resolve this, you just had a party over Thanksgiving and moved out unceremoniously. That's not the way adults behave. And according to you, you moved into a new apartment, which means that you had been contemplating that for at least more than 72 hours if you found a new apartment. Are you living in the new apartment alone?
No.
Who are you living there with?
With my best friend from back home and his girlfriend.
And what about your girlfriend?
She lives in the villas a couple doors down from where I used to live.
Oh, okay, good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. And in addition, the court will draft the order. You have 72 hours to get out your junk. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I did not have a party. There were no beer cans laying around. And I did turn off the heat a little bit because it was cold, and I did stay there over Thanksgiving night, but I didn't have a party.
We're 4 college students. We don't have money.
18-year-old student Lindsay Moncrief is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old waiter David Stamper, for totaling her rental car. David is countersuing for rent and stolen property.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 408 on the calendar in the matter of Moncrief versus Stamper. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Oh, your complaint and your answer, counterclaim, gave me a headache. You two people lived together for about 2 years?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Not even a year and a half.
Here we go.
We lived together from...
You lived together for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You have several complaints, Miss Moncrief. First, you say that he, at some point, had a rental car that belonged to you, took you to the airport. He was supposed to return the rental car. He didn't return it right away.
Mm-hmm.
He wrecked the rental car, and you had to pay certain monies to the rental car company.
It hasn't been paid yet. It's in collection.
Okay. He acknowledges he wrecked the car, right?
Yes, I do.
Your defense to that claim is that previously she had intentionally wrecked your car so that you had an agreement with her that you were going to call it even.
The damage was going to cost the same amount. Both cars were totaled, so...
Okay, so let's start with that one complaint. It's acknowledged that you drove her to the airport in her rental car and that you totaled the rental car that she's responsible for.
Yes.
Now let's hear your defense to that, sir. Tell me about when she totaled your car.
It was in September of 2000.
Yes?
And we were arguing. She got mad.
Look at me.
Ran outside of the house, got in her car, started to take off, followed her outside, and I did flip her off. and she stopped her car, put it in reverse, and tried to run me down, and in the process, ran into my car.
That's not
Okay,
true.
well, tell me what happened in September of 2000 with his car.
We were arguing over trivial things, and I decided to leave. It was escalating. When I tried to get my things, he got physical. So I gathered up as much as possible. I went out to my car. When I went to leave, he jumped off the porch, jumped on top of my car, was kicking it and punching it and screaming. So I backed out as fast as possible. I'm not denying that I hit his car. I did back into it. It wasn't intentional. Then I took off. He jumped in that same vehicle and drove after me. It turned into a high-speed chase. I went to her mother's house, Candace Thompson, in order to go to safety.
So what you're telling me is that he jumped on your car, which caused you to pull out and hit his car. So you acknowledge that you hit his car. Did you ever discuss paying for the damage that was done to his car?
What we decided was there was 2 different times that I bailed him out of jail for different things. It was $500 apiece. He paid me back for the first one. He did. Then the second one, he decided that we would just call it even because it was a few $100s damage. It was his light and the fender. He then sold that car to his friend who is now driving it. There's nothing wrong with it. It wasn't totaled. And so we agreed that we would call it even on the bond, the bail, that he wouldn't pay me back for that, and I wouldn't fix his car.
Where is that car now, sir?
That car was sold to my friend.
Did you sell the car while the 2 of you were together?
No, we weren't together.
Well, you got back together again after this incident with the car.
No.
Well, you had to because you drove her to the airport later, sir.
We were friends. We lived in
then you were
separate
friends.
rooms inside of my home. We lived in separate rooms.
After September of 2000, did you collect any money from her for the damage to your car?
No.
Did you sue her?
No.
Good. Forget it. Let me see the estimate, what you have to give the insurance company for the car,
It
please.
started out $8,000, and then they covered some of it. So I have pictures
Just
as well.
tell me what you owe on the car.
It's $1,166.76.
Okay, and is that what that says? Show Bird.
Yeah, it says 1031, but then there was interest accumulation. It went to collection.
Show him.
Okay, right here, 103100. It's all of
Plus
these.
interest. Is that what it says, Bird?
103.1.
Very good. Okay, so
I'm
that
sorry
you owe
about
her,
that. I
Mr.
couldn't-
Stamper. Now, you're suing him because you say he assaulted you.
That's correct.
When did he assault you?
The initial assault was June, which I have the report, and this was from the police. This
What do you
is-
mean the initial assault? How many assaults are you suing him for?
Well, there was another one afterwards. This was the one that happened first when we decided that one of us needed to move out. He gave me 30 days to get out, which, I mean, I guess that's kind and all. Before my 30 days was up, another assault took place, which she
What are you
witnessed.
complaining about? Which assault are you
This one,
complaining
right
about?
here.
Fine, let me see it.
There was no evidence. He took the whole mirror with him when he left the apartment so that I would have no evidence to show that it had taken place.
Your Honor.
Shh. You called the police immediately?
Yes, I did.
Now tell me about this assault. When did it take place?
It was June 13th.
Tell me what happened.
We were discussing things. I had just found out that I was pregnant that day. I had gone to the doctor's office. I have, like, the prescription for prenatal vitamins that I received the next day just to prove. Anyways, I told him that I was pregnant. He didn't really believe me, didn't want to believe me. We got into an argument about it. There were other things that came up, and we didn't just argue about that. He got really upset, and he pushed me into a mirror that was leaning up against, there was a window behind it, and it was kind of slanted, leaning up against it. He pushed me into it, and it shattered. He was just pushing me around. It never came to a hit or a slap or anything like that.
So what are you suing him for?
Just the assault, the damages. I had a
But
miscarriage.
what damage did you have?
I had a miscarriage.
Not as a result of that.
Yes. It wasn't just the assault, but it was all the stress that came from then to...
Stress I don't want to hear about.
Stress causes miscarriages.
What do you want the court to do about that, madam? You stayed with the stress. Listen to me. It's my grief. I've just looked at the domestic violence report the police took. The police came immediately after you called them. They saw absolutely no visible marks on you whatsoever. That's
Right.
stated in the police report. You are claiming that sometime thereafter you suffered a miscarriage because of all the stress.
On top of that assault, yes. And there was
Well, you don't
another...
have a medical report that says that as a result of this assault you suffered a miscarriage. Do you have that?
No.
Of course not. Stress. A lot of people are
Stress
stressed.
from him telling me that I'd be an unfit mother and he wanted me to get an abortion. I mean, that's not normal stress. That's not things you need to hear while you're
That is
pregnant.
a lie to them.
Shh. Listen to me.
That is completely a
Listen
lie.
to me. It's free speech. He can say to you that he thinks you'd be an unfit mother. He can say to you that this was not part of our agreement, that you were going to become pregnant, want to discuss an abortion. He can say that to you. Doesn't mean you have to go through with it. He has a right to say that. You have no claim with regard to this assault.
Your Honor, he has always claimed that he would love to have a child. I'm sorry, I just...
Speak.
Moncrief says ex-boyfriend David Stamper physically abused her on 2 separate occasions. She also says David wrecked her rental car.
Now, Mr. Stamper, let's hear it.
My countersuit goes on the lines of stolen property.
Tell me about the stolen property, Mr. Stamper.
When she had me arrested for the alleged assault, there was a no-contact order issued. I didn't want to break that because I'd be thrown back in jail. She lived in my home. She didn't pay rent. And everything in my home at the time, I couldn't get it out because I couldn't go to my home because she was there. She took everything I owned out of that home.
Like what?
Like a king-size bed, a couch, a love seat, an entertainment center.
Shh. Yeah.
All my housewares, dishes that my mother gave me from
When did you finally get back into the house?
I never did. She got kicked out of the apartment because she wasn't paying rent.
That's not what happened.
When did she allegedly steal this property?
In July.
You just started missing it 7 months later?
Well, no, I just didn't ever get around to suing her until then.
Your Honor, he was in jail until that time.
I did spend quite a bit of time in jail over this, and I had other issues that I had to take care of.
Ms. Moncrief, where is this furniture that he's talking about?
There was no entertainment center.
Forget entertainment center. There's some property there.
The love seat and all that was mine. The couch, I paid it was $40 for a bed. All the other stuff, all of his clothes and any other belongings, Natalie, who's sitting over, she came and picked them up. I grabbed everything out of the closets. I even had her look. Is there anything else that's his?
Natalie, step up, please. Did there come a time when you went over to the apartment to retrieve some of the personal property of the defendant?
Yes.
When was that?
Well, there's 2 times, actually.
So you went over there twice?
Yes.
On each of the occasions, did you take some property with you?
Yes, I did.
Did you take clothes?
Yes.
Did you take personal effects, papers?
No, actually, there was no papers, just clothes.
And there was hardly any clothes left when I got them. I mean...
What date did you go over there?
It must have been sometime in October.
In October? And you were incarcerated in what month, sir?
July, August, and part of October as well.
What happened to September? September follows August.
I'm sorry, September, part of September.
And what about October?
October, I was free.
I misspoke, actually. It was in September that I went. It was like right in the middle of his jail time.
But you didn't go immediately to retrieve his clothes?
Not immediately, because I wasn't aware that he actually had been put in jail.
You have any of his property?
No, I don't. Well, I have one thing. It's a big hammer that has a solid hickory handle or something. That's it.
You want that?
I'll take every bit of my property I can
Good.
get
What
back
else do you have that belongs to him?
That's it.
That's it? A big hickory hammer? Mm-hmm. You get it to him in 72 hours, please.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean...
What?
Everything I owned was in that home. When she moved out, she took all my stuff. I don't have any...
You said that you were out of jail in September. Is that right? Yes. September, October, November, December, January. It's 5 months later. Evidently, the stuff that you want was not that important to you to wait 5 months to sue for it. You got it? Yeah. Good.
When it comes to my car, I mean, just the parts alone, I have an invoice here that shows that it's over $1,400 for the parts that she wrecked on my car.
I don't care, sir. Let me explain something to you. You had a fight with her. She said she jumped on the hood of her car. Whether that happened or not, I'm not sure. It's very possible. After this incident with the car, you continued to cohabit with her?
I moved to Boise.
You moved to Boise, but somehow you must have gotten together again because she said she was pregnant.
That's where...
Shh. Listen to me carefully.
She was never pregnant with my kid. Never.
You say, are you
she
telling
never
me
produced evidence that she's pregnant?
Listen to me. Are you telling me it's impossible?
Yes, I never had sex with her for months and months.
Please, give me a break. Your counterclaim is dismissed. So is your claim for emotional distress as cause for a miscarriage of your child. Choose more carefully next time. I suggest you do the same, sir. He owes you for the car, period. And she owes you for nothing for property that you waited 5, 6 months to even miss. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Why is that excused? You may step out.
Everything he said is ridiculous.
She just can't leave me alone.
How can he not have had sex with me? I was pregnant. He was the only person I was with.
It's a small price to pay to get rid of her.
5-year-old caterer Dan Allen is suing 25-year-old office manager Destiny Phoenix for slander. Dan claims statements made by Destiny caused him to lose business.
All right, this case is really in 2 parts. So let me try to explain it as I understand it and tell you why it's in 2 parts. Mr. Allen, you have a small catering business. You make burritos, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had the defendant as a client, which means that you would come up in your truck every day
Yes, ma'am.
where you made your burritos, and you would get orders from the personnel that worked in her office.
Right.
You would make the burritos, and you would do this not only for her company, but for others.
Correct.
It is your claim that because of things that she said about your business, which were untrue, you lost her business. And in addition, the second part of your claim is that she made defamatory remarks about your business to other businesses who used your service, and they also canceled your service. Now, did you have a contract with the defendant?
A written contract? We had a verbal contract.
And what was the verbal contract, sir?
That would be okay for me to come by every day at a certain time to sell my food.
So that is a day-to-day operation. You didn't have a year's contract with her, a 6-month contract with her, so she could say to you, I don't want you to come into the place anymore to sell burritos, or I'm not going to use your service because, I don't know, because we don't like burritos anymore. So she doesn't have to give you any reason whatsoever.
That's correct.
So the first part of your lawsuit is dismissed. And the second part of your lawsuit is that she made untruthful statements about your little business to other people, therefore causing you to lose business. So you have to establish, to my satisfaction, first, that she made the statements to other businesses, and second, that the statements she made were untrue. Do you understand what your legal burden is?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me first, what statements can you establish that she made to other businesses that used your service?
Sure. I have a witness, Chris Laro, who I've been servicing food to for the past year and a half approximately, and I'm there every day. And I was there about 15 minutes after I was at Destiny Phoenix's business. So he saw me that same day. This is regarding the fact that she said I reeked of beer. He would definitely have noticed that.
Oh, no, don't tell me. Step up, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Chris Laro.
Mr. Laro.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
kind of business do you have, sir?
I am actually a law clerk at a law firm that Mr. Allen services. I am not the witness. I don't believe that he would like to call to prove the defamation. I'm here as a character witness only to prove that I have not seen him ever smelling of alcohol, that he's maintained a professional business.
So is what you're telling me that Miss Phoenix never made any statements to you?
That's correct, ma'am.
With regard to Mr. Allen's job?
That's correct. Mr. Allen has a written statement from
I don't take written statements.
Okay.
You understand that you're a law clerk.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to law school now?
Yes, I am.
What year are you in, sir?
I'm in my 3rd year.
So you know a little bit about hearsay.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And what are written statements?
They are out-of-court statements offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Correct. And according to the rules of evidence, sir, that would be inadmissible. Is that right?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. So far, you're halfway to passing the bar. Mr. Allen, do you have any other proof, sir, that the defendant made statements to any other business which were untrue, which caused you to lose business?
I believe she referred to the fact that I did not have a food license in this recording that I have of her that she left on my phone.
I'm not talking about your phone, sir. I'm talking about other people who your business serviced.
I just have a written statement, and I just have my food license here to prove that I have a food license.
You have to be able to establish to me, sir, that the defendant said to a third party something about you that wasn't true, which caused you to lose business. There are certain rules, which your witness knows about, which courts will accept an out-of-court sworn statement. What is the reason that that person cannot be here today?
He did not want to take off work.
That's not a reason, sir.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Laro, anything else you want to say? I would love to do this legal exercise with you, sir. It's been a slow day so far. Go ahead.
I fear of taking a beating on national TV, but nevertheless, I think that in the interest of allowing this court to look at the totality of the circumstances here, possibly the court could let him admit this hearsay statement, the facts that we are here in small claims court, and the federal or state rules of evidence are a little bit lax for small claims court. I think that you would be able to see that it was relevant and authentic, Your Honor.
One of the reasons that we do not allow out-of-court statements, sir, only under very, very strong criteria, is because it does not allow the defendant to cross-examine the maker of that statement. That means that if I were to look at that statement, I would have to, in my own head, say everything in that statement is true, because it does not give Ms. Phoenix an opportunity to ask any questions, or for me, on her behalf, like I'm asking Mr. Allen questions, to ask that person questions. That's the reason why we do not permit hearsay statements, because it's inherently unfair to the other side. And the fact that this is a court program that happens to be televised does not obfuscate the need to have reliable evidence.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right? Reliable evidence. Hearsay evidence is inherently unreliable. So that your case is dismissed, Mr. Allen. But you were very good, sir.
Thank you.
You may obfuscate the courtroom.
Judge Judy.
After the level of service that we weren't receiving, I decided that was the last straw.
She said some things that were just blatantly untrue.
I was going based on what an employee of mine had said when he came in.
If she didn't like my service, she could have said, "We don't like your burritos."
Saying that, wow, he really reeked of alcohol.
She was pretty mean.
That I didn't have to get beat up by Judge Judy was fine.
It was a learning experience.
Is suing 48-year-old laundromat owner Joseph Adu for the cost of her clothing. Vernetta says a defective dryer at Joseph's laundromat burned her clothes.
Order. All rise.
Now, this is case number 439 on the calendar in the matter of Jeffries versus Adu. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Miss Jeffries, you brought your clothes into the defendant's laundromat. According to your complaint, you threw the clothes in the washing machine and then put them in the dryer.
No, ma'am. I never wash my clothes there.
You just dry them?
I just dry them.
So you put them in the dryer, and you put them in the dryer, and you left for a while. When you came back, you found that your clothes had been burned in the dryer. There was fire and smoke. You want the defendant to pay for the cost of your clothes, which you say are worth $500.
Yes,
the defendant has a defense, and he says that you actually caused the fire. Is that right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor, that's right.
Okay. When did you take your clothes into the laundromat?
It was December the 11th. It was around between 5 and 5:30 that afternoon.
And you brought them in wet?
Yes.
Put them in the dryer. Were there
Yes.
other people in the laundromat at
Yes,
the time?
there was.
How many other people?
There were only four women.
Put the clothes in the dryer, and where did you go?
I went to the change machine because I only had 4 quarters left. And Miss was there with her child, and she said, you know, the change machine is not working. So I said, well, would you please watch my clothing while I go across?
You had already put the clothing into the dryer and put in your 4 quarters.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I went over to Mr. Dew's store, and I purchased a soda.
No, you didn't go to his, oh, he has a store, another store, he has another business.
He owns a store and the laundromat.
Okay.
And I purchased a soda and got change. And when I walked in, well, when I first walked into Mr. Adu's laundromat around 5:30, I could smell it burning. You know, just something burning in the air.
You mean before you put your clothes in the dryer?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
There was no smoke. There was just, you know, faint smell of something burning. And when I come back, it was like a cloud of smoke. And I was like, oh, my God, what's burning? And I went and I noticed that my dryer had stopped. And I was like, how could it stop that fast? I just put $1 in there. But the machine was still running, Your Honor. It was making a humming sound, but it was not turning. So at that point, I opened up the dryer, and this is what I found. And this isn't all of them. This is just, you know, I couldn't bring all the clothing.
Why not?
There's a lot.
Because she's lying.
I am not lying. You're lying. This is what I got back. All of my work shirts, my children's school uniforms were charred, burnt.
Okay. Bird, bring that stuff up here, would you? What kind of work do you do?
I'm a banquet captain at a hotel.
So you have work shirts? These are your work shirts?
Those are my work shirts.
Okay.
When I pulled those clothes out, I immediately put them in the basket and took them back to the store where Mr. Adu's brother was working. He came out from behind the counter. He took all the clothing out of the basket, and he said, oh, my God. He immediately put everyone out of the store, and me and him walked back over to the laundromat. The dryer was still humming at that time. It was still humming, but it wasn't spinning. He stuck his hand in there. It was very hot, you know, and he said, don't worry. I will call Mr. Adu.
Okay, Mr. Adu, your turn.
Your Honor, I'm here to say I came over when I heard there had been a burn incident at the laundromat.
You were not present?
No. I have another business across
So
town.
you were not present when this happened?
No.
Is anyone here today?
Yes, I have a witness who was there. I mean,
Your Honor, that man was not there.
Don't interrupt.
Who was there?
That
And,
day. Step up, sir.
This is Fred. And Fred?
Shh, don't tell me what Fred. Fred will tell me what Fred. Fred, do you have a last name?
Beatty.
Beatty.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Beatty, are you an employee of the defendant?
I helps him do a lot of things around there.
So you're an employee?
Yeah.
Were you there in the laundromat on the 11th of December?
I wasn't in the laundromat, but I walked around and went through the front. I seen her with the dryer door open, with the lighter in her hand, but I didn't figure nothing.
Liar?
Miss Jeffries, do not speak until I look at you. You saw with a lighter in her hand.
Yeah, I was standing in the door with it open, but I didn't figure nothing was burned, so I went on about my business. I didn't find out till late on that night that had happened.
So you didn't, other than the fact that you saw the door open and she had a lighter in her hand.
Yes.
Why would I burn my own clothes?
Miss Jeffries, you want me to dismiss your case right now?
No, ma'am.
You know I'll do that. But you didn't see anything else?
No,
And
I
you
didn't
saw
pay-
the dryer open?
Yes.
Did you see any smoke coming out of the dryer?
No.
Did you smell anything?
No.
Okay, and that's all that you saw?
Yeah, till late on the night where I found it in the dryer.
Later on that evening, you found something?
Yes, after they confronted me and said that her clothes had caught on fire in the dryer.
Yes.
A piece of the lighter that had melted.
Just a minute. You went back to search the dryer?
No, I did.
He searched.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I came in, initially I thought the whole place was on fire. So I came in right away and I saw, she showed me, she spread her clothes on the laundry table and she picked up four of those shirts. Those were those that I saw were burned. And she said, oh, these are my work uniforms. They cost $25 a piece at Freedom Mall. I felt some sympathy for her, and right away I went into my wallet and said, this is $100 for the 4 uniforms, buy some clothes and go to work tomorrow. And she hesitated and then pulled back and said, maybe I may get more in court. So she picked her clothes and left.
Okay.
After that, I went behind the laundry machine to be sure if there are any burned wires, any burned screens, anything, but I saw nothing. Everything looked normal. Then I came back, looked in the cylinder, and in the cylinder, I found a pink spot.
Let me see.
Stay there, sir. All right. This is a pink spot I found, sorry. This is a pink spot I found in the cylinder, and then when I pulled the screen, I saw those spots there also on the screen, and
okay.
And then also this melted piece of a lighter.
This pink piece of plastic you found in the machine like this, sir?
Yeah, it was in the cylinder.
Vernetta Jeffrey says a defective dryer at Joseph Adu's laundromat burned her clothes. Joseph says Vernetta is trying to scam him.
Go ahead.
And then I also picked up all the lint from that screen, the screen she used. And this is the lint from the very same screen she used that same day.
Feel like a detective.
And
crime scene.
They were not burned at all. It was just lint like it's supposed to. So this, to me, shows me the fire did not start from the dryer itself. If the dryer catches on fire, it will burn the whole clothes. Everything will burn.
Thank you.
And on the other hand, with a lighter in a cylinder, the lighter will explode, and the few clothes around it will catch fire, and once the butane runs out, that will be it. And I sympathize with her grief, but I do not sympathize with her greed. I offered her $100, she turned it down, and later on, she sent me a note that she would take $250. And she went to court, and then she asked for $500. Now, I wonder, with Judge Judy, how much she wants now. Maybe 1,000 or 2,000?
I see something, Your Honor.
Oh, Oh,
See,
no,
this
no,
is
no,
what
no,
I
no,
had
no,
to
no,
deal
no,
with
no.
that
I have a
night.
few questions. Do you smoke?
No.
Anybody in your family smoke?
No, that's just
Did
me
you
and
ever
my 5 children.
Did you have a pink lighter that
No,
day?
ma'am.
Mr. Adu, let me tell you something. You're not an expert on fire.
Not close.
Right. So there are certain things that you say that may make sense if she did, in fact, have a cigarette lighter that she left in her clothes that exploded. I find it interesting, however, that the writing on this little piece that you say you found in the dryer, the writing is clear so that nobody could mistake this, even a stupid judge like me could mistake this for a cigarette lighter. That with all the fire that was going on in this dryer, and that was some pretty bad fire, Mr. Adu, right? This one piece that says it was a cigarette lighter miraculously escaped any sense of fire. You know, like someone was watching over it. That's number one. Number two, Mr. Adu, it's also miraculous, even in the eyes of this stupid judge, that despite all of this fire, which you acknowledge happened in the dryer, no matter whose fault it is, that lint that you brought shows no indication of any fire. It's just old scuzzy lint. So the two pieces of evidence that you brought that would, in your mind, clearly indicate that this was caused by a fire of her making, I find a little suspect, Mr. Adu. Now, the letter that you wrote to him says that you want $100 for your shirts, $100 for your children's clothes that were there, and another $50 because you had to lose a day of work. Forget about losing the day of work. You should have had an extra shirt home. If you didn't have an extra shirt home, Miss Jeffries, I don't believe that. So at that point, you had $100 for your clothes and $100 for your children's clothes, and all of a sudden you file a small claims court case for $500. I also think that that's unreasonable.
May I explain?
Sure.
When Mr. Dew finally arrived at the laundromat, he came directly to the dryer with another gentleman. They went behind it, they went in it. I stood there for about 45 minutes before Mr. Dew even acknowledged me. Then he came over, he took everything out of my basket, laid it on the counter, went through it. He then looked at me and said, I will give you $100 for your shirts. And I said, that's fine, Mr. Dew. What about my children's clothing? He became hysterical, Your Honor.
He's hysterical.
He was outraged.
He became hysterical. He didn't treat you well.
No, he did not. He was nasty. He was rude. He screamed at me. He said, what do you think? You think you're going to get $1,000 for these clothes?
And maybe a little bit dishonest? Anyway, the damage that you had, according to you, was $200, correct?
That's all I was asking for.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I sympathize with her grief. That's why I offered her $100.
Mr. Adu knew that all of my clothing was burnt in his dryer. He knows.
48-year-old professional clown Donna Wiles and her daughter, 15-year-old Sarah Wiles, are suing 47-year-old contractor Gary Harpst and his son, 16-year-old Cody Harpst. Sarah says during a high school football game, Cody broke her cell phone when he dumped water on her.
Mrs. Wiles, this is your daughter?
Yes.
And Mr. Herbst, this is your son?
Yes, ma'am.
This complaint alleges that the defendant's son threw a bucket of water on your daughter, fooling around and being a jerk, and that caused her to get wet, and in addition to her getting wet, a cell phone that was in her purse got wet, and you say it's not functioning as it should. You want a new cell phone.
Yes, ma'am.
What the case is about. Where did this happen?
It was at my school, Francis Howell North, at a football game.
How did you get wet?
There was a bucket of water that Cody had from the football players that gave it to him to fill it up to pour water on their coach, when instead he came back with it and said, I'll pour it right here, and poured it on me, and it got on me and in my purse.
When did you realize that your cell phone was not working properly?
Maybe 5 minutes after that, someone told me to look at my purse. I looked, there was water dripping from it. My cell phone was in there. I opened it, took it out. The batteries were wet. It wasn't working then, and it can't receive calls or anything now.
Speak.
I wasn't the only person that threw the water on her. My friend Andrew also helped me throw the water.
How did he do that?
Because it was a big bucket and it had handles on it, and we both threw it on her. I was not the only person that threw it on her.
So?
And I do not think that the water that landed on her would have broke her cell phone. I didn't see her carrying a purse. And from what I heard, her purse had a flap over it and was a thick purse.
Why did you throw the water on her?
to be funny. She was being loud and annoying.
How was she being loud and annoying?
Because they were on our side of the field in the beginning of the game, and their principal told them to go back on their side, and they came back over, and they were just being mouthy and talking trash about our school. Her and her 2 other friends.
So they were cheering for their school?
Yeah.
On your side?
On our side.
So you threw water on her?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
16.
Mr. Harpst, you want to say anything to me?
Well, like Cody said, I don't believe I should have been the only one sued in this matter. Cody was punished by me for his actions. He was forced to apologize to Mrs. Wiles. But like Cody said, 2 people threw the bucket of water on a girl. Neither one of them were in the right, but I don't believe I should take the full brunt.
You're absolutely right. You shouldn't. Once I enter a judgment against you, sir, I think that you should proceed against Andrew for half. Why should she have to be bothered to go sue 2 people?
I don't
know either. I mean, he did a foolish thing. He didn't see that she had a purse. Her purse had a flap. He wasn't the only one. Somebody else held the handle. Did anybody else hold the handle?
There was other people, but the only person I saw and said anything was Cody, so.
Okay. You have a bill for the cell phone?
I do. Can I also say something? When this happened that evening, I did call the Harps house and spoke to Mr. Harps. And after I was telling him what happened, he told me that she shouldn't have had a cell phone, she shouldn't have had a purse at the football game, and she shouldn't have been on the other side. And I finally told him that was not the issue. And he thought, too, Sarah instigated it. I asked him to talk to Cody, have Cody call me. Cody did call that evening, and Cody did say he was sorry for pouring water on Sarah and for getting her phone wet. He never said, we are sorry that there was a group. The only other time I heard there could have been other kids involved was on the 5th phone call when I finally did talk to Mr. Harps to ask what was going to be done. And he said nothing.
Yes, sir.
I have an affidavit signed by Andrew who said that he was involved with Cody.
Oh, good. That's going to make your job much easier, Mr. Harpst.
Ma'am, I'd also like to know if the $250 replacement cost is legitimate also.
Well, then let me see the bill.
I have the statement from Verizon and my actual receipt showing what we paid for the phone. And to replace that phone, it's going to be that because we had got the phone cheaper on a 2-year contract, but it's there. And I do have a picture of the bucket if you need to see it.
I don't.
Okay.
I have a list of replacement costs of phones.
Well, why should they take a different phone from the phone that they have?
I would like to know if they're upgrading it or not. I don't see them paying more than the value of the one that was ruined.
Sir, Verizon Wireless itself says that the phone's actual retail value and the cost of replacement is $229.99. That's what it says. Now, I'm sure you can get a cheaper phone, but why should she have to get a cheaper phone? Because of his stupidity.
Was there a statement that the phone was ruined in the first place?
Well, why do you think that they're taking their time here
well,
for,
if there was the last phone bill, I'd like to know if the phone worked
Here's
beyond
my phone
that
bills.
date.
We haven't used it since October 3rd was the day we tried to use it, and that's when I went to Verizon. There's the second phone bill for the prior months, and nothing has been used.
Okay.
It's just the basic phone bill
I'll
rate.
take your word for that. Okay.
Fine. Okay. When you act foolishly, sir, there are consequences. Let us say that you poured water on a pocketbook that she was carrying, and there was no phone inside. And the pocketbook she was carrying was a $200 pocketbook. Not outrageous. Don't go look like that. That's not outrageous.
I'm sorry, you said $200 pocketbook.
Because it's not outrageous.
You're
I know,
right.
you use your pockets. But in ladies' terms, it's not outrageous. And let's say you got watermarks on the pocketbook. Well, it's not ruined. You could still put things in it, right? Yeah. And that's what a pocketbook is supposed to be used for, to put things in. But if it doesn't look the same because there are watermarks on it, then you have to fix it. So there are consequences for being stupid. And this consequence is $229.99. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Cody will have to get a job and earn that money back to pay for his actions.
I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it.
I was just having fun.
If you're going to horse around, just make sure you can cover the damages after.
And her husband, Brian Hickey, are suing their neighbors, 49-year-old painting contractor Jeff Deeks and his son, 13-year-old Mike. The Hickeys claim their son, 15-year-old Jacob, lost a tooth when Mike shot him in the mouth with a BB gun.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 402 on the calendar in the matter of Hickey versus Deeks. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mr. and Mrs. Hickey, the defendant's son and your son were playing with BB guns. According to your complaint, the defendant's son shot your son in the mouth with a BB gun, causing his tooth to fall out. The dental bills for that amount to some $3,800, and you want the defendant and his father to be responsible for those bills. Which of the boys was shot in the mouth?
Jacob, the oldest one.
You. The defendant's position is that despite the fact that immediately after this incident he signed a note indicating he would be responsible for the bills, he signed that under some duress, and that he immediately recanted by sending you another letter indicating he would not pay for all the bills, and that as a matter of fact his son was also shot with a BB, albeit in his rear end. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. When did this incident happen with the BB guns? And would you stand up here, sir? When did it happen?
November 19th of 2001.
Where did it happen?
In my backyard. It's on the side of the house is actually where he got shot.
Were you at home at the time?
No.
Whose BB guns were they?
We owned one, and Mike owned the other.
When did you buy your son a BB gun?
It was my mother's, and she gave it to my son for a present.
Why?
He just used it to, he had targets that he'd use to shoot and shoot signs, and it actually was my smallest son's gun, Eric's gun.
That's pretty stupid.
No, we have targets and we shoot all the time.
Well, so?
Plus we're hunters and stuff like that.
Sir, what is your first name?
Jacob.
Jacob, did you shoot the defendant with the BB gun and it hit him in the behind?
Yes, but it was by accident. I didn't mean
I
to
don't
shoot
care whether
him.
it was by accident or on purpose. I assume that you wouldn't do anything on purpose to hit him with the gun. Is that right?
Yeah.
You were playing around.
Yeah.
And you shot him in the behind.
Yeah, by accident.
Was that before or after he shot you in the face?
Before.
Was it immediately before?
No, it was like about 5 or 10 minutes before.
So when you shot him in the behind, did he say anything to you?
No, he just like, he didn't mind. He like 5 or 10 minutes after, we were all pals.
You were all pals. So he was friendly to you after you shot him
Yeah.
in the behind. And it was an accident.
Yes.
Now, I want you to tell me how it came about that you got shot in the face.
Well, me and Mike were just like, just hanging around, and I went to talk to my little brother.
Don't start from the beginning.
Okay.
You know, we're not going back to Noah's Ark. You shot him in the behind by accident. Yes. Then you were playing around for another 10 minutes.
Yes.
Immediately before you got shot in the mouth, what were you doing?
Before I got shot in the chest, I was hiding behind this board, and I put down the BB gun.
What were you hiding behind the board for?
To hide from getting shot, because I couldn't run to my house. I was afraid of...
Well, was he aiming at you?
Yes.
Your Honor...
Shh.
Excuse me?
He was aiming at you?
Yes.
What did you say to him when he was aiming at you?
I yelled, stop, like at least maybe 5 or 10 times.
Did he say why he was aiming at you?
No.
Were you playing at this time?
No.
What were you doing? You were being serious?
Yes, he was being serious. I think he was trying to either get back at me for accidentally shooting him.
When you say you accidentally shot him and you hit his body,
yeah.
Where were you aiming?
At the ground. It ricocheted off the ground and hit him.
That's not a target.
No.
Sir, I'm not speaking to you unless you were home, right? So you were shooting around his feet?
Yeah, it was like he was maybe a few inches from the ground to where I was pointing the gun at.
But he had turned around. His back was towards you, sir,
yes.
Because if you hit him in the behind, that means that he was moving away from you.
Yes, I think he was looking at his gun. I think he was loading his gun with bullets.
Just a second. So he was loading his gun with bullets, and you shot.
Yeah, well, I was checking the safety, and I pulled the trigger, and the safety wasn't on the way in, and it ricochets off the ground and hits him.
All right. Now, Mr. Deeks, I want you to tell me how it came about, sir, that you hit him in the mouth with a BB.
Okay. That day, the bus missed us right off the bat, so we stayed at his house, and we were, like, playing video games. We ordered a pizza, and so then about half an hour later, after we watched a movie, we went out in his backyard and started shooting at trees and stuff with his BB gun. And then he said, let's go down and get my BB gun. So we walked down to my house, and on the way down to my house, that's when he shot me, when we were walking, and I was walking in front of him. So it hurt, and so I just got up, and we kept walking to my house, and we got my pellets, because we were, like, shooting at birds and stuff. So then we walked back to his house, and he said, let's play one pump war, which is you pump the gun one time, and you shoot at each other. And we were at least 100 feet away from each other, like a big field. And Just a minute, does one pump war sound familiar to you, sir?
No, I never said that.
Go ahead.
And then he started shooting at me, and Eric was with me by the road, and pellets were like flying by our heads and everything, and Eric said, let me shoot the gun. So I said,
That's
okay.
a lie.
and I let Eric use the gun, and Eric shot the gun and shot Jake. Like, the second shot he shot, it hit Jake, and I tried to cover for his brother and say that I was the one that shot it, and he repeated, no, that was my brother, and you didn't shoot it. So, and then he was yelling at his brother. So then he immediately after that started shooting back at us and almost hit Eric. So I told Eric, go away before you get hit. So then he was hiding behind boards with one of my friends, Robbie, and I couldn't see anything, so I just took a shot, and all of a sudden I walk up there and he's out in the middle of the yard, and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, you shot me in my face. And I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And then he said I did it on purpose, and there's no way I could shoot it with a $30 BB gun 100 feet away.
And for him to shoot me in my tooth, he would have to directly aim at my face.
Your Honor, Eric can tell you, because he was there through the whole thing, he can tell you what happened, too.
Mm-hmm. He shot my little brother, too, in the head.
And so you shot him?
No,
You shot your own brother.
Neither of you were there. You shot him. The first person who got hit with a BB was him. Put your hand down. Listen, when parents permit their children to have instruments that can cause damage to each other, they make a big mistake, and then they come and they cry. Somebody, first of all, should have been home in your house to ensure the fact that if your son missed the school bus, somebody drove him to school so that he wasn't home all day being unsupervised. Did your younger son miss the school bus too?
No.
Did not, so he went to school that day.
That's right.
So that they were playing around all day with these BB guns until Eric came home. Is that right?
That's right.
And then Eric was out in the field with them as well. Is that right, Eric? Stand up here. Is that right, young man? You were out there too?
Yes.
Did you ever have a BB gun in your hand?
No.
You never held a BB gun? Just your brother and his friend?
Yep.
Now I want you to point someplace in this room. Let's say your brother was standing where I'm sitting at the time that he got hit in the face. I want you to point someplace in the room and show me where this young man was standing when he shot him in the face. Look around the room, and if you tell me that there's no place in the room, that's fine too. Look all around the room.
Where was he standing, Eric? Where was Mike standing when he shot Jacob? How far?
Nowhere.
What?
Nowhere in this room.
Nowhere in this room, so it was further. Was it twice as far?
Wait.
3 times as far?
3 times.
3 times as far as anywhere in this room. Is that right?
Yep.
Sit down, Eric.
Hickey says neighbor 13-year-old Mike Deeks shot him in the mouth with a BB gun. Mike says Jacob shot him in the behind.
So you believe, Mr. and Mrs. Hickey, that the defendant should be totally responsible for any injuries caused to your son?
Yes.
Wrong. Wrong. You are suggesting that Mr. Deeks purposely, from 3 times the distance of this courtroom, aimed and shot at your son successfully, getting him in the tooth.
I don't know if Eric understood that question.
It wasn't that far.
Just a second. You weren't there, and that's what he said.
Well, I know where he said he was.
Just a second. You weren't there, and that's what he said.
He's on probation for violence in the first place, so he is susceptible to
That
this
has
stuff.
nothing to do with this case.
You're
Your
right.
Honor.
I'm off
In fact,
probation.
he used that to bribe me into signing the note in the first place, so
All
I
right,
would
now,
pay the bill.
let's get to the note.
You begged us not to call
Hey,
the cops.
Mr. Hickey, Mr. Hickey,
Okay, ma'am.
listen to me, sir. But for the fact that your son had a BB gun that day, you wouldn't be here today.
True.
Now, there came a time, according to what I've read in these papers, that the defendant, Mr. Deeks, signed a note.
Mm-hmm.
Can I see the note, please?
Sure.
Now, I'd like you to tell me the circumstances of this note. When was it written?
It was written that evening that it happened.
Did you go to his house, or did he come to your
Brian
house?
did. Brian went to his house.
You went to his house?
Yes.
What did you say to him when you went to his house?
He was asking me not to call the cops because his son was on probation for breaking and entering in the house
Yes.
in my neighborhood.
Yes.
And
Just talk to me.
right. So I said, I don't have a problem with not calling the cops, but I said, I need the medical bills to be paid for. I said, we're not, we don't have a ton of money to pay for this stuff. And he agreed.
Okay. And give me your version of what Mr. Hickey said to you when he came over.
Basically...
No, not basically. What did he say to you, Mr.
Okay,
Deeks?
he said that Michael had instigated the shooting, that Michael had shot his son. So I signed
did
the
he say?
note. Of course, I was scared for my son. I was
No.
scared for his son.
What did he say to you, sir, with regard to calling the police?
He said...
Now, what did he say
said
to
if
you?
I would agree to pay all the medical bills and to pay pain and suffering for his son, then he would not call the police.
All right, and then there came a time where you had second thoughts. You had an opportunity to speak to your son.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that you wrote him a letter.
Yes, I have that here.
Can I see the letter that you wrote to him? I want to see when you wrote the letter to him. Mr. Hickey, once you received this letter, you were advised that the defendant did not intend to pay for the entire dental bill for your son, but thought it was only reasonable that he should pay for half. Did you go to the police?
That night I called the police.
And I had the report.
Because also one thing, I always taught my boys to keep their guns down because that's proper gun safety when you're not firing your gun to keep it pointed away and down. And also, Mike was the one that instigated the shooting on my son. My son did not shoot back at him, okay, as far as
You weren't there, and you don't know. Just understand this, Mr. Hickey. Despite the fact that you've given your son all kinds of lessons on gun safety, the first person that was hit was the defendant.
Right.
Just a second, by your son. Now, I understand from this letter, Mr. Deeks, that you took some photographs
Yes, ma'am.
of the injury to your son behind. I'd like to see them.
He doesn't want you to, but...
Well, that's too. That comes under the category of being too bad.
Jacob's tooth was a lot worse than a butt.
Scab.
That was through blue jeans and boxer shorts.
Getting a tooth shot out is a lot worse than getting shot in the butt.
So?
And a lot worse damage.
So? They're two stupid kids. He started it, and he finished it better. I think both of them were probably accidents.
Jake, his was not an accident.
Well, you may say it's not. Yeah, can I see the dental bills, please? You folks just don't get it.
Do you want the police report?
I don't care about the police report. The police did not arrest him for that. You know why the police didn't arrest him for that? You want to know why? Because your son shot him first. That's why.
Miss Judy, also, he shot my son 4 times, shot my little son 3 times,
can tell you that.
and shot my dog 2 or 3 times also.
Purposely.
Purposely.
Did you take the BB gun away from your son?
That was the same day.
Yes, and plus I got his BB gun and destroyed it the same day.
And they
as
both
happened
have this gun still
Your Honor,
in their possession.
his little son and a kid named Sean were walking down the street with my BB gun like a month later, and with holding a pigeon in their hand. And I talked to Josh, his littlest son, and Josh
Don't tell me what Josh told you. I think that you're both way out of line, and I think that, listen to me, I think that the defendant is being more than reasonable with you when he says to you, I believe that I should be responsible for half of the dental bills and that you should be responsible for half of the dental bills for your son. And if you don't think so, then I'm not going to spend any more of my very valuable time trying to convince you. Now, these 2 boys were engaged in play. There is no indication that the defendant was a marksman, any more than your son being a marksman. You 3 parents,
What about him
both
shooting
very
my other kids? I mean,
I'm not interested in him shooting your other kids. All I know is I have photographs that the first person who was injured as a result of this BB play was him.
it shows he intentionally shot my other kids.
No, it doesn't.
And they were not armed. So,
You know,
okay?
Get over it.
You know where his heart...
Get over it. Get over it. You're being thick. You allowed your children to have weapons that could cause injury, both of you. Therefore, you are both responsible, especially since, put your hand down and get your hand out of your pocket, especially since your son, whether by accident or on purpose, and it certainly wasn't by accident because he aimed at the ground as the defendant was walking away. He didn't aim in the air. He aimed, according to his own statement, at the ground at his feet, and it ricocheted. Now, that's his statement. That's not teaching him how to handle a gun. You handle a gun, you want to shoot at targets. According to you, they only shoot at targets. That's not a target. The back of his feet isn't a target.
Your Honor,
Don't speak. You acted stupid. He was stupid. You were all stupid for not making sure that your sons were in school that day. What?
Well, first off, with my youngest boy, I mean, they catch the bus at 7, he catches it at 6:30. I was still home. So apparently, we're not stupid or neglected far as parents because they must have snuck off in the woods on their own before we even left.
You're supposed to know where your children are. Then if they both snuck off, they were doing the wrong thing. Both of them. And the first one to get a gun was your son, because then they walked back to his house to get his, right?
Yes.
So now let me see the dental bills.
He did pay me $59 already.
It's $160.
No, you gave me $59 cash.
I gave you $60 and $100 check.
Yeah, that was for pain and suffering for Jacob.
Don't give me pain and suffering.
Well, that's what
they
he
gave
did.
me.
Well, I don't know whether
That
whether he gave you money for pain and suffering. I'm not giving any
He
money
did that
for
on
pain and
his
suffering.
own.
$159 he gave you so far towards the dental bills.
Your Honor.
Okay.
Don't speak.
259.
Your father's going to get fed up with taking care of your nasty business, sir. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, young Mr. Deeks, you think your father had to spend any money the first time you got into trouble?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you feel badly?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were on probation?
Yes, when this incident happened.
You were on probation?
Yes.
Part of your probation that you're supposed to be in school every day?
No, ma'am.
No? Oh. You don't think that the judge, while you were on probation, had the probation officer look into whether or not you were in school doing the right thing? Of course. And you weren't in school, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the first time you were in trouble?
No, ma'am.
How old are you?
13.
That's the first time he's ever in trouble with the law or anything like that, if that's what you're asking.
Should have taken away his BB gun at that time, Mr. Deeks. That would have been the first thing that I would have done.
I agree there.
Taken away that, his Nintendo, his video games, his television privileges.
That's why
everything
I gave the
except
gun to
bread
Mr.
and water.
Hickey.
Now, this estimate was December 27th, 2001. The total bill was $1,865. Was that surgery performed?
Not yet. No, he's got to wait till he's full grown, so they will not perform the surgery until he stops growing.
And was the tooth totally knocked out?
I have a picture if you want to. If you'd like
I do.
To see it.
Okay. Now, after the money he paid you, the total amount of the bills as projected by the dentist, $3,690.
Yes, ma'am.
And I believe that he is responsible for half of that, which is $1,845. And that's what I'm giving you as a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,845. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I think we should have got the whole thing.
I had offered in the first place to pay half of it.
I guess half is better than nothing.
I thought all three.
Is suing his former employee, 22-year-old retail salesperson Jessica Borowski, for stealing company funds. Jessica says she didn't do it.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 449 on the calendar in the matter of Bayer versus Borowski. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Bayer, the defendant was a former employee of yours. She no longer works for you. She was terminated by you. It is your claim that while she was working for you, she misappropriated funds from your business. The defendant says she didn't do it. When did she start to work for you?
She started to work for me approximately 4/10 in the year of 2000.
And what was her job?
She was a secretary office manager.
What kind of business do you have?
I have a heating and air conditioning company and a real estate development corporation.
What were her duties?
She would do most of the office management work, write checks, mail letters, type things on the computer, answer the phones, things like that.
When was she terminated?
11/18/01.
Why?
Her annual review was 8/01, and at that time her job duties were lacking in her responsibilities of her job, and she had a poor review at that time. And with that review, I also began noticing that she was having many problems with taking paper, faxing copies of her husband's job resume, and stealing other items.
What other items?
I have some evidence here. We have QuickBooks. She was writing rebate checks to herself so that she could get the checks rebated in her own name.
That is totally untrue.
That's not what you're suing her for.
No, but it's part of the history of the evidence.
Okay. When did you discover that she had used company funds for her own purposes?
In February of the following year.
February of 02. Okay. Let me see proof.
Here's evidence of the order form.
What are these things? Chanel throws, baskets, Pooh honey pot lamp, Pooh prints.
Things that we wouldn't use in the heating company business, ma'am.
Are all of these things bills that are attributed to her?
If you'll notice, the person who placed the order is on the invoice.
Yes.
And they were all ordered by her.
Okay, and you're saying that the items that were ordered
Yes, ma'am.
were not items that you use in your business?
We do not use Chanel pillowcases in heating and air conditioning.
Okay.
And Pooh Bear cups, we don't use those either.
I'd like her to take a look at these, please. Have you ever seen these?
Absolutely. I'm not denying that I didn't order them, but they certainly didn't go home with me.
So you're not denying that you ordered these things?
Correct, ma'am.
And she would order things from this company for your business, but you say not these things.
No, we don't ever use that supplier. There's nothing that we could ever order through them for our
So
company.
you never used these people? All
I
right.
didn't know
Fine.
the company existed.
Ms. Borowski, you ordered them.
Correct, ma'am.
Why?
To the best of my knowledge that I can recall, I must have been asked to order them by Mr. Buyer. I did a lot of ordering of a lot of different things. On an occasion that I can recall off the top of my head, I ordered a necklace for his girlfriend's birthday on company funds. There were several things that were ordered through that business that were on company funds. My husband, which was working part-time for the business, in fact, did deliver to Mr. Buyer's home. Lots of things would come in and be delivered to the business and would go to his home.
Madam, when somebody asks you in your capacity as office manager, I mean, there are a lot of things here. There's not one or two items. There are a lot of little items. But you would get an order form for these things, correct?
They were all ordered over the internet. In my research and finding out what happened after the fact, I talked to the company. I had them send me copies of the faxes, which I have here, of what happened. She ordered them during the day on the internet at the office because it came to the internet address of our office. And the internet address is Jessica Borowski. And I have that here also.
Not your company.
She used the internet office name Jessica Borowski on our internet at the office.
Why did you do that?
I can't recall ordering anything off of the internet.
Can I see?
If you look at the top, Your Honor, it'll tell how it was the internet address. And they will not ship unless it's to an office.
These were all done within a relatively short period of time.
Excuse me, they were all ordered the same day. The shipping dates are different. But they were all ordered on one order. And how I found out that I was liable, the bill kept coming for the shipping charges. And at what time, when the bill kept coming, I kept sending the bill to her house. She refused to pay the bill. I saw my company name of GBR on the invoice, so I opened it up and found out that it was billed to me. I called the supplier up to find out what happened. And they told me, well, it was ordered during the day. Your company is responsible for the bill. I said, I never ordered these items. And they said, well, yes, you do, because it came to your company.
Okay, I want you very carefully, Ms. Borowski, to look over these items, because they were, in fact, all ordered in November. They are all household items. Hands-free mini phone, an over-the-sink organizer. Clearly, somebody was furnishing up a house.
Mr. Buyer was building a house at that time. I do have pictures of that.
You don't need these things when you're building a house. These are things that you order when you already have the house built and you're accessorizing the house. So we're not talking about one item in 1 month, then another item another month. We're talking about somebody placing an order for all of these things. So you tell me, Ms. Borowski, why you think that Mr. Buyer would pursue this matter, since he says, and I believe him, that he didn't get any of these things. But why do you think he would accuse you of doing this?
That I'm not sure why he would accuse me personally. I mean, well, I worked for him, so. But he ordered several things from several different companies all the time that were delivered to the business.
Several and not 35 items, all ordered the same day, all domestic products, Ms. Borowski.
I'm telling you that I mean, those are not mine. Those are not mine.
Go ahead.
I have the coupe de grace here, ma'am. This is a check that she wrote in her own handwriting and signed my name to the bottom of the check register. When she was terminated, the check register came up missing, and I'd like to also submit that there's also several other checks that you can see the difference in the handwriting and the signature on the bottom of the check.
I was authorized to sign checks.
You were authorized to sign checks in whose name?
In his name. If
you were authorized to sign his name?
He gave me permission to sign checks when things arose that he wasn't able to be at the office to sign a check for something, that I was instructed to sign his name to a check.
Is that right?
She did sign when we were out of the office, sometimes on an occasional basis. I will not deny that. It was with prior approval. Your Honor, I would not order a bunch of gifts for myself or my household and then sue her because I didn't get them, or just to sue her for the money.
So you wrote out a check for all these items and signed his name to it?
I could have wrote that check. I'm not denying that fact at all, ma'am.
Let's take a look.
Your Honor.
For the exact amount of the order, $676.
I'm not denying that I could have wrote that check.
After she was terminated, Your Honor, the packages came in. If you look from the order shipping dates, the packages came in a staggered amount. She was already terminated. She was no longer there. Her husband came in, Jeff, and picked up the package as they came in. They started strolling in.
You mean he actually came into the place and picked up packages that were
We
marked
called
for
them
her?
to come and pick them up. Yes, that's true. And he picked up, and I didn't know that I had paid for them until February.
I'm not denying that I ordered things from that company, but they certainly weren't anything that was on there. And I have a refund check that was sent to me that I paid for my part, and I overpaid.
Jeff Byer says he fired Jessica Borowski after he found out she was ordering things off the internet and paying for them with company funds. Jessica says Jeff ordered those items for his girlfriend.
Mr. Byer, is this a company that you ever deal with?
I never knew they existed until I got the billing.
You've gone over all of your back bills from the company to see whether you ever dealt with this particular company, and you did not.
No, I never knew they existed.
And the only order that came in was this order that was shipped on different dates, but all to her attention.
Exactly.
And after she was terminated, you called the house and said, come in, you've got some packages here.
Right.
And he came to pick them up.
Yes, they came in staggered. So we had to call him several times. When the billing kept coming, we kept sending the bill to her, and she refused to pay.
Now she's going to pay judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $676. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was the only employee there handling his finances. There was nobody else to hold responsible.
Evidence in this case shows that she's a pathological liar.
He was wanting to hold me responsible for his mistake of not depositing enough money.
It's a shame that you trust people and you pay them to do a job and then they steal from you.
People should be more careful who they do business with because this guy really is a crook.
Just watch over your shoulder.
Server Doris Sharp is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 39-year-old electrician John Brennan, for breaking a lease. John says Doris ran him out.
Ms. Sharp, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were in a long-term relationship. You lived together for many years, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Off and on.
And recently you signed a lease on a new apartment. And you both signed on the apartment. It was a year lease. The defendant left after a couple of months, and you want him to pay for his half of the lease for the remainder of the lease. The defendant says that it was either leaving or killing each other. Aside from that, he left you with everything that you had acquired during the course of this long relationship. When did you sign a lease on this apartment?
This is the third year we had signed.
And what was the rent on the apartment?
$540 a month.
And when did he leave?
In June.
Had you been having difficulty before he left?
Well, he couldn't get out. He was on house arrest, so he couldn't go out and do anything. So as soon as he got off of house arrest, which was in June, I said, you know, ever since you're off of house arrest, I never see you anymore. And he says, honey, you ain't seen nothing yet. And I never seen no money since then.
I asked you before he moved out in June. Had you been having trouble?
No.
What was he on house arrest for?
Violation of probation.
What kind of probation?
It was a drug-related charge.
Had he spent any time in jail?
Yes, he did.
How long, sir?
I did 7 months out of work release.
Tell me why you claim you left, Mr. Brennan.
Well, the relationship was just, it was getting over. It was over, and it was a point of just getting out before a bad situation got worse. I mean, just, it was over. And one of us had to go, so...
So why did you sign this lease in June?
I don't think the lease was signed in June.
It's right here. Let me see, Bert. It's right there. Thank you.
I thought it was in April. But...
It was in April. You are correct, sir. All right. How large an apartment is it?
It's a one-bedroom, it's a little less than 800 square foot.
Okay. Do you work, Ms. Sharp?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a server at Ryan's Steakhouse.
And how much do you earn a year?
$15,000 a year.
Do you have family in the area where you're living?
I have my daughter.
What do you plan to do when this lease is up?
Well, Your Honor, I wouldn't have been in a big bind, but when I came home, I spent $1,000 on my vacation, and he knew it. I've always went and seen my parents. It was my money I worked hard for, and I planned on paying it off. But then he's gone, and I'm missing $270 plus half the electric. And
I asked you a question, Ms. Sharp.
Okay.
What do you plan to do after your lease?
Try to look for a smaller apartment.
How can you find a smaller apartment? Do you have a one-bedroom apartment?
They have them. They have smaller bedrooms where you can get off the lake. It's cheaper.
How much cheaper?
$100.
Okay. So you could move into an apartment that would cost you $100 less a month that you plan looking into, right?
Yes.
But you plan on staying there.
Yes, I'm staying there right now because it's too hard for me to move right now.
Listen, so you have to live someplace, Miss Sharp.
Yes, that's why I'm there.
Of course, you have to live someplace. Now, if you said to me that you took a two-bedroom apartment because you needed lots of room, I would say to you, well, it's possible that you could look for a roommate, to help you with your expenses. You want to say something?
Yes, I do.
Who are you?
I'm her daughter.
Well, you step up. I'm going
Thank
to hear you
Your
briefly.
Honor.
It better be relevant.
It will be. She wants to move to a lesser apartment. She can afford $400 a month. The smaller apartments at Carlton Arms, Your Honor, are efficiencies. She's nervous, and that's all. They're just not available, and it would cost her more to move, Your Honor.
I need a $1,000 deposit someplace. Can't come up with that kind of money right
Sit
now.
down.
Yes,
He's got the key to the apartment, too. He can come and go when he wants.
Just to say, he's not coming and going anywhere. He can always change the locks on the apartment.
No, I already asked that. I asked if I could change the locks on the apartment.
Where's the key?
And they
it's in my
said...
jacket pocket.
He'll turn it over.
I will.
Listen to me.
Yes.
Just relax yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
I mean, these people are together for
me.
me.
One more thing. That's
no,
all.
you don't have to say anything else.
Okay. Yes.
I want to know, Miss Sharp, over the years that you were together, Mr. Brennan says that he and you together furnished your apartment. Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor. It was so good. It cost $50. All four chairs you could rock on like a rocking chair. And
Let me ask you a question. Do you have a television set?
Yes, I do.
What kind of television set do you have?
I got a 13-inch in the kitchen and another one in the living room.
Okay. And you bought that when you were together?
Yes, but he bought the stereo, so he took the stereo, which was the same price as the TV.
Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Well, then what furniture and household items do you say that you paid for jointly with Miss Sharp?
Everything.
Well, let me hear. Give me an example.
I mean, there was a full kitchen. I mean, you name it. I mean, just dishes, silverware, just everything that you would find in a house.
Okay. So dishes, silverware, everything that
juicers, blenders, toaster ovens, I mean, everything that you'd have in a house. I only took my personal stuff and the stereo. That's all I took.
Okay. What about the living room furniture?
I didn't take any of it.
I'm asking you, did you buy it together?
Yes.
I went and got it while he was in jail for $25 at the Goodwill. The whole house is furnished with Goodwill furniture. Everything.
Is that right, sir?
I don't know where she got it.
Yes. The couch cost $25.
About a couch. I don't,
have bedroom furniture.
We're going back
the bedroom furniture. I paid $70 for it from a friend. $70 for the whole thing.
Mr. Brennan, how much do you claim you spent over all the stuff that's in the house?
I wouldn't have an idea. To replace it, I don't know.
And the only thing that you took out of the house was the stereo?
Which was mine, yes.
What do you mean, which was yours?
Well, I bought that, and we bought her a television, a 27-inch television that I left there.
So you bought that together? And you bought the stereo with joint money? So that's, is that sort of an even swap?
Correct, yes.
Well, then I'm talking about the other stuff, Mr. Brennan. One of the things that you said that was appealing to me, quite frankly, is that you walked out of the house carrying your suitcase with your underwear in it, and you left her everything else in the house that you had accumulated over the 6 years that you were together. I just want some idea of what the value of that stuff was.
I can tell you the value. Probably everything, $200.
No, I don't believe that's true, Miss Sharp.
The chairs you rock in, you can
Miss
rock
Sharp,
away
Miss
on
Sharp,
it.
pay careful attention to me, madam. You have to buy sheets, you have to buy towels, you buy dishes, you buy
There's
silverware.
Goodwill.
You buy,
Buy everything at Goodwill. It's true.
Yeah.
I'm a Goodwill shopper.
Oh, good. Put your hand down, madam. I'm not interested in what you have to say.
Yes, Your Honor. I apologize.
Mr. Brennan, you have to make some accommodation to Miss Sharp with regard to this lease that she's on, but she has to do whatever she can to sort of limit your responsibility. I don't believe two people should live together, especially if they're not married, when there's at least a possibility that there would be violence in the household should you remain together. Miss Sharp, you're going to have the luxury of living in a larger one-bedroom apartment for the next year at the same price as it would cost you to live in the smaller one-bedroom apartment that you say is not